We're gaming. And eating breakfast. All right. What time is it for me? 1 p.m. He hit the nene? That is not what happened. Also, that's not how you spell it. Read Metafy as Meatloaf, and I was so confused. Wow. A Meatloaf lesson. As if I can cook. Silly. I just eat tortellini. I don't know, I'm not young enough. You're like, what, a decade younger than me or something? I don't actually know how old you are, and I don't want you to, like, reveal your age or anything, but I feel like I am significantly older than you, so your argument is invalid. I would watch a Meatloaf lesson. Gem Cooking Channel, when? See, the Gem Cooking Channel is going to be... The Gem asks somebody else to teach him to cook and then translates that to other people channel. There's not a lot of information you're going to be getting out of me. Yeah, Meatloaf is pretty awesome. Like, there's a good reason that Meatloaf still exists. People meme on Meatloaf. I don't know what to say. Their moms just didn't make good enough meatloaf. I've even had, like, vegetarian meatloaf that was absolute fire. First Squid School stream? Whoa. Very cool. Thanks for being here. Now get out. No, just kidding. Not cooking, a lesson on the greater philosophical meaning of meatloaf and how it relates to humanity as a whole. Meatloaf is yummy. That's my dissertation. Thank you. There we go. Good. I've already offended a viewer. It's only uphill from here. All right. So here's what's going on right now. There was a Metafy lesson that was booked for this hour that we are currently going through, and I received word from that person that they are not going to be available to actually be in the call during the lesson. So I'm just doing this VOD review style, like, you know, I have sometimes on Squid School on Tuesday, the show, and giving them some feedback as we go along through the match. So they'll be able to watch back through the VOD and see it later on. And contract fulfill, you know? So, where do I go to sign up for being able to get a lesson from Gem? You got a couple of options. So, see these links that are here, the link tree, that takes you to all of the links that Squid School has. That includes the two that you're interested in are either Discord or Metafy. If you're interested in getting in on the Tuesday streams, which are free, you'll DM me to get put in line for those. There is more. Excuse me. There is more of a wait for those than there will be for Metafy, but Metafy costs money, and so that's the trade-off. So you can kind of decide which of those you would prefer. and click on the link that appeals to you. That's most clickable to your eye. It's most aesthetically pleasing. All right. So we've got a match here pulled up already in the replay code because I am very proactive and not at all 6 minutes behind on this. Our player here is Bloopy, or actually I think it's Bloople. Is that an L? It's an L. Okay, so it's Bloople. And they are playing the splatter shot. Their team comp is very short range, only exception being the Gloogadoolies. But so is the other team, which has a forge and a machine, just a little bit of range, but no major backline threats to worry about. But you do get outranged by the forge and by the machine, so you gotta be a little careful about how you approach them. So now we're playing Rainmaker on Wahoo World. The thing about Rainmaker on Wahoo World is that the way the bridges work, on the opening cutscene, they make you think that the bridge on the left is going to be available to you. It is not. We have no access to the Rainmaker from here. So if you're trying to rush to get to the shield, which is a very common play that a lot of teams are going to want to do, you want to be going to the right on the rollout here. Most you can do from here is throw a bomb, which, to be fair, is a pretty good contribution to the cause. But from here, it's like, well, now what? So we decide, okay, well, just sitting here and throwing bombs probably isn't going to do as much as I want to. And so I'm going to drop down. Unfortunately, we drop down without checking. And so we end up in an engagement that we didn't expect. Now, fortunately for us, that engagement is with a weapon that kills 3 times as slowly as our weapon does. So despite the fact that they have the jump on us and have a lot of advantages here, we're just barely able to sneak this out. But pretty much any other weapon, any weapon that should be flanking down that path probably beats you here. So that is a concern. Definitely a bit of a look before you leap kind of situation. Turn your camera down to look over the ledge before you drop over it. So we get caught here with something. Another thing about this is we are dropping off a ledge into enemy ink. We may not know that there's enemy ink there because we aren't checking, but that's something to think about. Like, whenever you drop off a ledge, that's a major commitment. And if you're committing to being in enemy ink, you're committing to not being able to move, which makes you very vulnerable. And also makes you more likely, statistically, to be near an opposing player. As soon as you see these shots coming out, we're taking evasive action. Climbing up a wall is not what we want to be going for. From here, squid roll back off the wall, and maybe that'll throw their aim off. Maybe that'll help you armor a shot, get your aim on faster. But we don't react super quickly to those shots coming out. Okay, teammate jumps in and is this waying, which is not great because the teammate is in a 1v3. So nobody is there to come this way. That jump is not going to be campable because it's going to get there too quickly, so the bomb is going to reveal you, and now we're in a 1v1 against a weapon that outranges us. So we got to be careful there. Backing up from the machine isn't always the best idea just because it outranges you, and so backing up is more likely to put you out of range than it is to put it out of range. But it ends up working out there to an extent. The problem is that you let the machine get behind you and have opponents in front of you. You can't handle both of those things. You're going to get pinched, and that is exactly what happens here, and you go down. Hello. Okay, why did it double tap? That's weird. The big thing here is just that your team is staggering. Like, Y'all went down, and let's see how long it's been. How long does this stagger go on for? So we gotta go further back. Okay. So you go down there, and we're at even numbers. But they're back up a little sooner. Oh, and okay, so now from 431, we're down in numbers. And then we go in, and notice there's the one player you had in mid, and the other two are respawning. So you really do not have a lot of help with this fight, and you know that there's one in front and one behind. At this point, you need to just hard commit on this machine. Because if you try to push forward, the machine collapses on you from behind, and the other player collapses on you from in front. If instead you go around the right side of the Rainmaker pedestal here and right side peek it, you have a 1v1 against that player because the Rainmaker pedestal is being used as cover between you and the opponents in front, and you've got a shot. But your teammate actually picks it up and runs for it, which is going to have the predictable result. So we're still not at full power at all. There was a moment where on the top of the screen you could see that 4 players were spawned in, but 2 of them were like in your spawn. So you never have regrouped as a team since 431, and now we're 3 down. Okay, so now your team is finally at a numbers advantage, but it took 30 seconds. 30 seconds is a long time. It's long enough, for example, for them to be able to get a push checkpoint. And get a... Okay, that was your Booyah Bomb. Good. I was worried there that that was an opponent's Booyah Bomb, but you would have seen the Booyah icon appear at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, okay. So, there is an indication there. The cue that I'm looking for when it's a friendly Booyah Bomb versus an opponent's Booyah Bomb is the indication to Booyah at the bottom of your screen. And since that doesn't show up in the spectator cam, I was fooled for a second into thinking it was an opponent's Booyah Bomb. But you can see the icon on screen showing it was a teammate's, so it makes more sense to be approaching the way that you are here. You want to try and follow up with the Booyah Bomb. If it was an opponent's Booyah Bomb, you need to be backing up. We saw out of the corner of our eye on the left, there is someone down in carousel on the left. I would not be grabbing this until that player is dealt with. In fact, right now that player is in serious trouble, and we're running forward without them. So this is either a lack of awareness of that player or an assumption that you can push forward when you haven't dealt with every threat. So for one thing, your teammate on the left here is like rolling and like fighting and dealing with something. There's paint clearly going down on the left-hand side. And then a teammate has picked up the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker is going to be a target. So you need to put yourself in between the Rainmaker and whatever is attacking you. And instead we run so far forward that the Rainmaker is left alone and they have to defend themselves. Now there's someone in our base behind the Rainmaker shield. And they're painting it from the backside. And it's really dangerous to just stay here because if an opponent shows up from like the direction that it's normal for them to show up from, they can shoot you in the back. I don't know about picking that up because you don't know where everybody is right now. The bomb that came from court over there, that splatter shot may well be trying to approach you here. So let's talk about playing the Rainmaker for a second, because there's a lot of objective play here that is very risky. First of all, you only really want to pick it up when you have an advantage. If you pick it up and you're in a 4v4, like you are right now, you and your weapon are not able to use the fast painting main weapon. They're not able to use the sub weapon, and they're not able to use the special. You had special charged, but it doesn't matter because you picked the Rainmaker up. And when you pick the Rainmaker up, you either win the game by KO or you get splatted before you can ever use that special. Those are the only 2 possible options. So you aren't able to use this special at all because you've picked it up. You also, since you have less of a weapon, basically, since you're slower, since you have an abysmal fire rate, since you don't have access to all of the aspects of your kit, you look at, your team's 4 versus their team's 4, and they're a bit stronger. Especially since the special that you had is now unavailable to you. So this is a fight that if you end up just having to take, their team is very likely to win. What you want to be doing is keeping them off the Rainmaker and stalling long enough for it to reset to mid. Because once it resets to mid, they have to turn their backs to you and run away to go and collect it again. And that gives you a lot more space without you having to actually win a fight or anything. So the goal here was not to pick it up, it's to stall. Picking it up, you're not likely to get super far, especially if you push this far forward in front of your team. And it could just get you splatted here, put you at a numbers disadvantage, give them the Rainmaker pop, and let them move a lot further past the checkpoint here. The other really significant risk that you're taking right now is you're not letting your team get in front of you as you push with the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker is, as a rule, going to be stopped by the very first player that sees it. That's what should, on paper, happen the vast majority of the time. You need a teammate in front of you to clear everyone out from in front of you before you can push forward with this safely. Otherwise, that exact thing is probably going to happen. Now, your team trades it back, which is the best case scenario, pretty much. And we're able to pull ourselves out of this, but now they've got the Rainmaker. That was a mistake in part on your teammates, but with Rainmaker in general, it's really, really important to have someone in between the Rainmaker and the goal at all times. And if there isn't someone like that... So, like, Christian here is in between the Rainmaker and the goal. Or actually is in between the enemy team and the Rainmaker. It's not quite the same. But they should be able to stop this in theory. And they get zoned out really hard, and they don't. Wow, that is incredibly unfortunate. That's more, I would say, on your teammates than it is on you, although there are a few things you probably could have done to stop it. That was a really risky engagement that you just took. I think you're expecting that they're going to walk around the pedestal here and keep chasing the Rainmaker, but... what ends up happening is, first of all, you're left side peeking around this. So if they start aiming at you and you start aiming at them at the same time, they're going to be hitting you before you're hitting them as you walk around that corner, because they reach around the right-hand side. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, right side peek advantage is the fact that characters in this game hold their weapons on the right side of their bodies. So if you're peeking around the right side of cover, more of your body is behind cover while you're able to fire around that corner. And so that's an advantage. So you're, first of all, left side peeking, which gives you the disadvantage there, and you've already fired shots that haven't hit anything. So as you walk around, the opponents know that you're coming and haven't been hit yet. So they're not at a disadvantage, and they have more information about your position than you have on theirs. So they should, in theory, be able to win this fight. But they just don't hit the shots. I like that you recognize that your teammate is running forward, and you move forward. That was absolutely perfect positioning. You could not have done anything better once you started, like, catching on to what your teammate was doing with the Rainmaker. That is, so you got in front of it and made sure that you were body blocking. You immediately, as soon as there was a threat, put yourself in between the threat and the Rainmaker, and you painted for the Rainmaker so that it didn't have to stop on its way. Everything that you did could not have asked for anything more at even the highest level, given that somebody is making that Rainmaker push. Now, should they have made that Rainmaker push? Probably not, because the rest of the team wasn't with you. But you, as an individual player, did exactly what your team needed you to do right there. And you get a checkpoint for it. Now, your team is now 2 down. Thankfully, you're jumping into a Booyah Bomb here, but picking up the Rainmaker is absolutely not the priority right now. Here's why. This push needs to go to 1. Literally 1. You need to be in the middle of the jump to get up on top of the Rainmaker pedestal in order to win this game. You're not going to get there yet from this position. There's still someone in the way. And if you don't take the time to clear them out and, like, get a good fight win here, it's just not going to happen off of this push. Your goal here should be to create safety around the Rainmaker first, so that's a more passive weapon on your team, like maybe I don't know, you might actually be an ideal Rainmaker carrier. Kind of depends on what your team is thinking, but you want to make it so that when you pick up the Rainmaker, it's completely safe for you to do so. Nobody is shooting at you. Nobody is even in range of you before you go for this, because this needs to go all the way if it's going to accomplish much at all. And just beelining for the Rainmaker is asking for the enemy team to just pre-fire it, to shoot at it before they even see you going there, knowing that you're going to go there and run into their shots. Alright, so we're jumping in. That was a situation where I'm very hesitant to jump in. Yeah, they absolutely should have splatted you, and you get away with so... Oh my god, are you about to get the wipe? No, we didn't see the junior. Oh no, I saw them on the screen. You had the information about where they were. So that is a play that should not work. However, we can see that there's someone shooting at us from behind right now. Right here, we can see that there's someone in front of us shooting at our teammate. And we turn our backs to them, and that's what gets us splatted here. And we're so close to actually being able to just wipe them and go. But because we don't pay attention to that last player, they're able to sweep in and get us. Now, you could also say that your teammate probably should have dealt with them too. But you did just turn your back to them and start painting the Rainmaker shield, despite the fact that there was someone there. So, man, that was actually really close to being a straight-up quad. I'm pretty confident that if you spot that player, you know that they're there, and you turn to deal with them, you just get the quad. So we're just jumping in here, and notice how, like, we have... On none of these jumps have we had a numbers advantage. It's very unlikely for any of these situations to pan out for us, because we're just outnumbered when we go there, and we're landing in enemy ink. We're not, taking our time to get special. We're not getting map control. We're just kind of diving in and hoping we can keep the Rainmaker in the same spot long enough to win a fight. And that's a low percentile play, because we're putting ourselves into positions where the enemy team should be able to splat us from here. It's ideal to, once, there's only like one player left and they're in a sea of enemy ink and that kind of thing, just paint your way back in, because you'll get to mid in about the same place as you will anyway. And you'll have special this time, and you'll have time to collect information, and you'll be kind of able to reset and get your team back into you. Dropping down here is very risky, because the enemy team can see as soon as you drop over that ledge. You're not hidden or anything. And if there happens to be someone right underneath you, well, you don't have anywhere you can run. You're dropping off a ledge into enemy ink. They're already backing up away from you. And yeah, that's not a winning fight at all. You were at a numbers disadvantage. You were dropping off a legend at enemy ink. They were going to be able to see you because there was a completely open sight line. Just lots of red flags there that tell you that that fight is not likely to be won. All right. So here, actually, I probably would have jumped into one of my teammates, like at least the one on plat, because now there's a whole bunch of orange ink in front of you, which is keeping you safe from the opponents, and they're in a position where it's hard for the opponents to push to. Now, there is someone in our court here, so let's see how we deal with them. Okay, well, they get booyah bombed. But with the machine, they outrange you, and with a weapon that outranges you, if you take an open sight line, that is, if you're not behind cover while you approach them, they are at the advantage, because they get to use all of that range against you. So you want to be kind of a little bit sneakier if you're going to try and approach them or something. I disagree with this pickup because nobody is in front of you and we haven't gained a numbers advantage or anything like that. Like, yes, there's a teammate nearby that has a hammer, but as soon as anybody's in front of us, which they are right there, we just lose the push. And see, we're 3 down now because we rushed that push. Play the objective when you have advantage. Get advantage first, then use that advantage to push the objective uncontested. If you're pushing the objective contested, you should usually always lose. There will be situations at lower levels where you can pull off a play like this, but it's a lower percentile play. It's like going for half-court shots in basketball. Yeah, I mean, it's a way to score, but it's not a likely way to score. You're more likely to fail it, and statistically speaking, if you only ever take shots from half court, they're just going to score more than you. So instead of taking shots from half court, get yourself a little bit more space towards the enemy basket and go and actually like set up a play and get yourself a shot that's more reasonable to hit. It's funny how many of those things just made it sound like I was talking about Clam Blitz. All right. So we catch the Rainmaker out. There were a few shots there that missed that could have, in theory, been punished by a mechanically stronger player. But you had the right idea for sure. Rainmaker was trapped there, and you took advantage of the fact that they were trapped to get in there and splat them. The only thing that I would add to that, mechanically, so that you avoid their option to take the fight, is to move when you start missing. This is a very dangerous jump. Yeah, that's way too much blue ink there. You pretty much never want to go for that. Don't let desperation get the better of you. Like, if you're going to be splatted for making a play, unless you have no time left in the game, just take the safer option. Like, go for the play that's actually going to get you onto the map and having an impact. Because you know how you lose the ability to have an impact? By getting splatted. Yeah, so they snuck by your teammates. Good job not firing shots until you were in range and had line of sight and you had your aim on. Those very first shots hit you. Now, I don't know why you turn your back to this player. You have this habit that is getting you killed a lot, where you splat the Rainmaker carrier and then you collect no further information and immediately turn to start trying to pop the Rainmaker shield. That's not going to help you there, where there's an opponent who would have your back as soon as you turn. It happened earlier, and it happened here now. Like, the Rainmaker pop is something you have to pay attention to, but you can splat that player in front of you before they can pop the Rainmaker shield. Easy peasy every time. It's more important for you to clear the area around the Rainmaker shield first. Because then you just deny them the ability to even get to the Rainmaker shield, and you don't have to worry about it popping. Honestly, not the best idea for them to try and be pushing it here, because it's very unlikely that they get a higher push than they already have. And they're going 2 down, possibly more, since you got special here, right at the end of the game. So, I like the movement decision here. You realize, wait, the Rainmaker's moving without me. I need to get up there in front of it. And so you promptly rotate around. This is really good. Now, I wouldn't turn this far away from the Rainmaker. For all you know, they're going to go over to the right instead. And you're not painting a super huge trail for them. I would hazard a guess that right now the Rainmaker is on the opposite end of mid from you. That you're pushing really far ahead of it and giving it a lot of flank routes. Let's back up for just a second and see if my suspicion is correct. So let's look at where you are. So you get this pick, that's good. Now look at where you are, look at where the Rainmaker is. They did end up going to the right. The play around the Rainmaker is so far behind you that it is physically impossible for you to get there before the game timer reaches 0. Now, if you're able to maintain hold of the Rainmaker, then you're going to maintain overtime, but at a certain point, the Rainmaker is going to get overwhelmed here. Oh my goodness, what is the other team doing? All of them are getting so distracted by Christian here that they're not even noticing that the Rainmaker is going over to the right. They should see this on their screen. Like, this isn't a secret that you're going and making this play. The Rainmaker gives their position away. But they're just over here instead. Oh my god. Do you guys pull this off? I cannot believe it. That was a massive defensive throw on the part of the enemy team. That should not have been possible. So let's explain how this should have actually worked. Oh my goodness. I hate how you have to watch through the whole cutscene again. Wow. Okay. So it's about here that it happens. All right. So what should happen here is Kit Chaos, their splatter shot, and Squid and Peppa, their junior. They should be able to walk through mid, drop on top of the Rainmaker because the Rainmaker is so far behind your roller and you, and 2v1 it so that it never makes it through the carousel. And they should see right now that it is moving in that direction and be positioning to get in its way. But instead, even as it is now going past them in mid, they're continuing to fight Christian. And also, Drake is jumping into them, and CEO, who is just spawning. So, like, they have nothing else to do but to collect information on what's happening, drop off this ledge, and commit to the left-hand side. So every single member of the enemy team loses awareness of the Rainmaker and commits themselves to a position where they cannot possibly cover the right side. It is because all of those mistakes happened at once that this play works. And even then, they probably should have splatted the Rainmaker here. All they had to do was paint its feet. That was incredibly lucky, and what we really should have needed to do there was stay much, much closer to the Rainmaker and protect it from the opponents that were pushing it on the right-hand side. Like, we need to be a buffer in between the Rainmaker and the opponents at all times in order to keep it safe. And if we let the opponents get in on them like that, we are not protecting them. A lot of people get the notion, like, I am painting for the Rainmaker. And what they'll do is they'll make this big, long trail through the map for them to follow. This trail on the top side of the map only works for the Rainmaker carrier if no individual opponent ever gets in between you and the Rainmaker carrier. Because as soon as they get in between you two, you're not protecting the Rainmaker anymore, and they don't have access to that paint because, you know, if Kit Chaos goes and drops on the right-hand side here, they paint up that trail that you've made, and now the Rainmaker can't use it, and the Rainmaker needs to stop. So now you're stuck out in the middle of a sea of enemy ink, the Rainmaker's not following you, and the enemy team is just at an advantage on the defense. So what you need to be doing is, like, yes, paint for the Rainmaker, and yes, be in front of it, but if you get so far in front of it that they're able to very easily slip in between you and the Rainmaker, it's not going to work out. So, kind of incredible that you're able to pull this off here, but against a competitive team, this does not happen. Against a competitive team, they stop you before you get past mid. And in fact, they also stop you here. What should have happened here is they should have had, like, paint in front of the Rainmaker so that it gets stopped right before it gets to the pedestal, and here they can just splat it. Because despite the fact that we have gone this far in front of the Rainmaker before this point. We're actually behind it now, and so we're still not in between the Rainmaker and the defenders. It looks like we pop a Trizuka here. In this case, literally just body block. Literally just throw yourself in between the Rainmaker and the enemy team. The Zuka is not going to be reliable around that corner, especially if you're left side peeking it, at getting these picks before your teammate gets up there. So I'd probably just like swim around the corner and try and put yourself in between so that they're shooting at you instead of shooting at your teammate, at least once the path is painted. Wow. That's a heck of a game. So congrats on the W. Glad you were able to pull that off. All right, that brings us to X37. We got time for one more, and we do actually have another replay to go over for this player. So let's go and look at that one. I'll need just a second to get the second one pulled up. Okay. And finally, that is an S, not a 5. Okay. And we did it. All right. I'm glad that the replay codes didn't have any typos in them, because otherwise that would have been a little bit tough to figure out. I do not like this comp. There is synergy to an extent between the Wiper and the Tri-Stringer. They're going to be able to do chip damage that helps each other out, because neither of them are great at dealing enough damage to splat someone, but if you put the two together and each of them do a little bit of damage, they're probably going to splat together. So that's a nice little combination. But you as a splatter shot, any damage you do is pretty all or nothing. You're either committing to a fight with your main weapon, in which case one of you two is going to go down. You're throwing a bomb, which is either going to splat them or not do much of anything. Or you're going to use a Trizuka. Most of those, like, obviously there are ways for you to do partial damage, but they're not the likely ways that you're going to get splats. So you don't really benefit from any of this chip damage. And what this also means is that you're not going to have anyone who's able to push up with you very effectively. The Splatana Wiper, in order to be effective, needs to be kind of dancing around and not staying in the enemy's range for any particularly long amount of time, because they don't have very fast DPS at all. Any weapon that gets on top of them and hard commits to them is going to splat them. So even like the Dually Squelchers does damage faster than the Splatana Wiper does, and that's a pretty slow killing weapon. So it needs to be like in range but then out of range, and then in range and then behind cover, and then in range and out of range, and like that's how it has to play. And you are going to hard commit a lot of the time. So there aren't a lot of weapons that are going to start a fight that you can finish in this comp. There also aren't a lot of weapons that are really going to help you much at all in fights, because you don't really need the chip damage. You just need someone to get their attention. So this is rough. This is not going to be easy in terms of winning fights. Now, what you will be able to do is play a lot more passively and play a little bit more of a supportive playstyle by throwing bombs and painting for your Zuka. You're one of the best painting weapons on your team right now, and you're going to have a lot of support from the backline if you play that slightly more passive role, where if someone does push into you, They got 2 tri-stringers and a torpedo, all of which are focused on them, and that will probably do some damage or distract them to the point where you can take a fight from there. But I don't envy you with this comp. Let's see what we're able to do with it. So we end up rolling out to the right here. One of the first things that I like to do if I'm going to take one of these flanks is make sure that I have an escape route to get back to mid or behind me if something goes wrong. If, like, an opponent zooms out faster than I can. For example, if this ruler comes out with curling bombs, they get out here faster than you do. How do you keep yourself from being cornered if that happens to you? Right now, you just don't have a way to get back or to get to mid. So it's important that you establish one of those kinds of things right now so you don't get trapped with someone and forced to take a fight. So you do immediately jump here. You want to paint your feet faster than this. Sitting in squid form in there is not hiding. They'll be able to see you really easily against the like the color contrast with the floor. And you can't move as fast either. And you're also like you're just like less hidden in general. Doesn't give you any advantages. Just paint your feet before you submerge there. All right, so you see that the curling bombs are really coming from above. And you confirm that when you see the curling bomb in mid. So, good eye. An opponent goes down on the left, which is great, which means now we can start trying to use our numbers advantage and pressure the enemy team and move forward. Teammate was shooting at something on the left-hand side there. That might be something you want to look at, just to make sure that there's no one else flanking. Yeah, there is another one there. So we get one over here, but notice how when you're over here, Fooly is still shooting at the left. Now what ends up happening is the Dually Squelchers, Persephone, they are actually not there anymore. So there's nothing to actually shoot at, but oh, it looks like you do end up looking at this and dropping here. I'm trying to think. So, if you're dropping here, the thought is probably to try and flank them. But we drop, and then we just kind of sit here. Dropping from that ledge, if somebody is watching around the corner, is a very visible thing to do. So, if you're going to drop, you probably want to start moving pretty quick. Otherwise, you're just getting bottled up in this corner of the map that doesn't matter, and giving them plenty of time to respond to you. I like that you recognize that there's someone behind you. You spot those shots from the corner of your screen, and you turn about as quickly as it looks like your camera is going to allow you to here. You do have a pretty low sensitivity on to only be turning that quickly. The power clam here, I wouldn't make the power clam right here. You have a teammate in front of you who has 7, and a teammate with them who has 5. As soon as that teammate with 7 gets to the basket, the teammate with 5 can throw them 1, and they're in. But for now, you kind of want to be maintaining your stealth so that you can execute on this fight properly and get to the basket safely. So I like that you take this player out, and you recognize that you're separated from that teammate on the left by the player who got your other teammate, so you move to the center instead. Now, from here, first of all, there's a lot of yellow paint around you, and you're marked. So you want to take away their movement options to be able to get to you. You've already got your teammate going in and scoring, so once that clam goes in, the only thing they're going to have to look at is you. You know, you're very visible and vulnerable there. This player probably should splat you. They should probably be able to just like hit you with the melee range attack. They don't go for it, and so they lose because they have worse DPS, but that was a fight that you definitely could have lost. You wanted to take that a little bit more cautiously before you went in for it. Even so, you get the score in. If it's ever safe to jump to that player, you probably want to, but I could definitely see it just not being safe at all. All of those shots that you're firing for the last, like, second or two are making it so that the person around... If there's anybody around the left-hand side, they know exactly where you are now. So, like, from right about here. You can see those shots that are falling right next to the power clam. Those are going around the corner. And so even though they can't see you if they're sitting around the corner, they can see those shots. They know that you're the only shooter on your team. They can figure out pretty much exactly where you are based on just where those shots are coming from. And putting the bomb there isn't stopping them from stopping you either. There's clearly a roller around the corner now. And you're lucky that they fling way before... That they flick way before they're going to be able to catch you. But that roller probably should have just splatted you when you revealed yourself around the corner like that. This hammer... I like the idea to flank it, but we're out of range when we start shooting at it. Also, now there's a player on the right-hand side trying to run a power clam in. And if there's nobody on your team who's in the way... They're just going to score. So that's more important than staying in this fight. If your team's not there to help you, you might just need to peel off and go defend instead. Get one with a bomb afterwards, but that's more their fault for running into it, because that's just not something that they needed to get hit by. Someone on the far right. We just saw a curling bomb there. Your camera movement there is making it very difficult for you to see what's going on in your base. The base is not at all clear. And it's taking you a pretty long time to recognize that. Stuff is happening behind you. Teammates are going down. And it feels like you are not aware that there is danger behind you. So, looking for enemy ink as you come out, figuring out where the rest of the enemy team is after you stop a push like that. We need to collect that information, because otherwise we're going to make some uninformed decisions. Someone in mid, and we saw them coming up to us. During the time that they were coming up to us, we could have been setting our aim to get it ready to be able to hit them as soon as they got in range. Watch. A few seconds too far back, but... So, from right here even, we see that this player is moving toward us in front. So instead of, like, getting too focused on painting the ground here, we've already got all the paint we need to be able to move to them. What we could just do is start working on getting our aim set on that player, so that as soon as they get in range, we're already holding ZR. But they kind of surprise us, I think. I think we just don't notice the splashes in the ink. Your camera movement as you move to the left is denying you some information of what's happening in the middle. If you're going to move that way, you want to be keeping your eyes at all times on what is out there in front of you in the middle, so that if someone tries to rush you in the meantime, you're not turning your back to that. I like the idea of this flank. Okay, I like the idea of this flank less. I was thinking you were going to use it to win a fight. But we're just going to make the risky, I'm going to juggle clams play. And this is something that more aware opponents are going to stop. Because look at how much yellow ink there is around you, right? If they had just, like, noticed that this was happening and collapsed around you, they can stop this really quickly. The fact that this worked, like, sure, you can say, good job executing it and making sure you got the clams in and, keeping yourself stealthed, but there are countermeasures that they could have taken, which no amount of stealth is going to save you from. They should have known that this was coming. So don't get used to plays like this working. And another thing I'd like to point out about this is that because you're not able to move your full team forward with you while you're making that play, you score a power clam, and then no further follow-up goes in. The rest of your team is already busy defending, and they're stuck, you know, on the opposite side of the enemy team, so they can't actually get more clams to you. You score what you have between the two of you, then the basket closes, and now the enemy team has control of your own basket. And they actually have paint control around it as opposed to what you had, so they should be able to score here, but they don't. They do not score anything at all. Nice shots. There's a lot of time spent there, and you get away with it a little bit because you're fighting against a wiper, which is a very low DPS weapon, but there's a lot of shots that you're firing there that are maybe out of range or your aim's not on, and you're holding down the ZR trigger for a pretty long time before you recognize that and reposition. The stronger players get, the less time that you're going to be able to do that before they start punishing you for it. So get used to, before, you know, they get their aim on, as soon as you start missing, you start moving. Because you're going to read your own movement better than they're going to read your movement. You know, you're going to get your aim on faster than they will because you know where you're moving and they don't. So even though it's going to make it a little bit harder for you to aim, it's going to make it much harder for them to aim, and that's what's going to give you the advantage in that fight. In that situation, your teammate is already scoring. You only need one person scoring in Clam Blitz at a time, because that's all you need to be able to reset the basket and give the rest of your team time to get more clams and get to the basket. Your teammate's already scoring, so instead of scoring yourself, your job is the bodyguard for them. When you're looking up at the basket, you're not looking around, and you're in a pretty vulnerable state. You're a very big target. You're pushed pretty far in towards the enemy base. So what keeps this push alive more than you throwing in one extra clam before you go down is standing in between your teammate who's scoring and this dually squelchers coming in, so that you can keep the dually squelchers off them and they can score safely. And then once they finish scoring, they're going to be at the basket. They're going to be able to protect you as you throw your clams in. And that's how you actually get all of the clams in that you took to the basket here. So teammates trade. You've just got the tri-stringers with you. That's nice. You got one down over there. Not sure what the pause was there and the shooting behind you. Maybe you're checking the map and just kind of seeing, trying to get some paint on the ground or something. This is entirely too much walking and shooting. This is what I would call walk and shoot syndrome. I talk about this first in the video, How to Get Out of B Rank. Go watch that video and listen to what I say about walking and shooting without moving in between. Because you could have gotten that one splat and run away. Instead, you stayed in that fight when you weren't hitting shots and just got splatted. You've got to be disengaging from fights a lot faster than that if you're going to get, the double or if you're going to keep yourself alive. There you go. Nice. Ooh, okay, a little scary, but you're able to get in there. A little bit of wave aiming, but you pull it off and you get another one. Very nice. In that situation, I'd probably have just engaged on him with the main weapon. You want to be using Trizuka from range, from distance, because the closer you are to them, the more likely your feet are to get painted, and for you not to be able to move away. You to get your escape route cut off. Nice job. Teammates get in and score. We just need 3 more. I like this idea. If your teammates pick up on it. And there you go, you finish it off. Good stuff, good stuff. All right. I really like the idea to pass the clams at the end. That is a much faster way to collect them than trying to bring them up yourself. Does put a little bit of the pressure on your teammates to be able to grab them. So if your teammates are under duress, it might actually be safer for you to pull the clams in because nobody's shooting at you yet and they're distracted by your teammates. So it depends on the situation, but there I think it's pretty good. All right, cool. And that gives me 4 minutes to answer some questions and finish eating because, my goodness, I've been eating for a while here. All right. So thank you, Toilet Man, aka Bloople, for that. Wait, is your Discord profile pic? It is just a picture of a person in a toilet costume. Cool. Thank you for submitting your footage and giving us something to watch here. And I hope you found that helpful. So people are answering questions for me in the chat and answering them incorrectly. I do some VOD reviews that are free, just some of them there's a bit of a waiting list for. So if you want to be on the Tuesday show, those ones are free. You just have to DM me on Discord and we'll get that all set up. Why does everyone want me to do a standing backflip? Is this like a TikTok trend or something right now? I've been asked by like 3 separate people and I don't understand where this is coming from. When you say denied yourself info with the camera, what do you mean? So, take a look from here at all of the dummies, okay? I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to ignore the moving ones. So 12 dummies on screen right now. Now there are 2 dummies on screen. Now there are 3 dummies on screen. Now there are 2 dummies on screen. Now there are like 5 or 6. If you don't control your camera while you're moving in a careful way, there are just important things that could threaten you that you can't see. And what was happening a lot with Bloople was, let's say we wanted to move to the right here, right? As we're moving to the right, yeah, you have to turn to be able to paint it. But as you're swimming, you can turn your camera back and be looking at what is out in front of you and what could potentially threaten you. And of course, the multiplayer map modes changed, so it repositioned me, and I have to go all the way back over here to continue this demonstration. So, like, yeah, you want to paint this, but then as you're moving, you're keeping your camera at eye level, focused on the places where people could attack you from. Instead of doing this. From here, I have no idea what's going on behind me. The entire enemy team could be rushing me. From here, I know that they're not. It doesn't matter whether the circles are zeros or O's, because the circles, the O's don't work. You have to choose zeros. How are X battles? Made it to S. X battles are harder, which is good. they're not as good as Splatoon 2's, where they didn't boost them artificially. If you win a series, you get 10 points guaranteed, which is not the way that it necessarily worked in Splatoon 2. It'll probably feel a little better, but it'll also inflate the rankings for not as much of a reason. But the nice thing is that it's much, much closer than the series system is to actually correctly telling you how well you're playing. Okay. I have a team practice that's gonna be coming up soon. I need to get in contact with those folks over Discord really quickly. Hoping that they sent me friend requests. I did not see one there. Let's try and add the person. Oh. They're not accepting friend requests. Well, that might be a problem. Let's go to the chat then. We're gonna try and get things set up in the Squid School Discord server with them. I'm trying to get them into the voice channel so that we can get their sound in here. And look, a little Discord icon. See, it's up there at the top of the screen. It's talking about, it's showing who's talking, and that way we know who's saying words and things. And it's great. Okay, so hopefully that works out soon, because I don't think I actually have a VOD to work with from them yet. So I need a response from it's Jesse Inkman on Discord. Their Metafy username is just please stop. So I'm gonna assume Jesse Inkman there and wait for them to get in touch with me here. Oh, there's someone. Hello?
Hi.
Are you a member of Jesse Inkman's team?
They are currently joining right now.
There we go. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Yo, Mr. School. What's up, man?
Cool.
Hello.
I'm getting a little bit of echo from somebody's...
That's me. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
All good.
All right.
Jesse Inkman is a quality gamer tag. I'm still getting echo.
Echo? Ooh, that
Maybe
might
join
be
on your
me.
phone.
Hang on. It's probably me.
Maybe join on your phone.
Yeah, I'll just join on my phone, I think, here.
Check. Yeah, I'm still hearing it.
Shoot. Okay. I'll just have to join on my phone here, so just move me in.
Welcome back.
All right. Good enough?
Yep.
Nice.
Sound quality is better too, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Welcome, guys. Are we waiting for anybody else?
Someone joining in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And then if we're going to go over footage, then we'll need either a link or a replay code of a game you'd like us to watch.
I've got VODs here of Flutie. Actually.
Perfect.
So I'll send them to you here. Give me a second.
Sounds
What do I
good.
do? Like DM them you or?
Yeah, you can just DM them to me. That works.
All right, cool.
You can probably just watch the first match because it's a recording of the whole thing.
Yeah, we filmed like I compiled like it's like an hour long of the entire thing we did. So Uh, um, there you go.
All right, I've got a message request. There it is. Accept. Bada bing, bada boom. We've got a game to watch. So I am going to first, for my first trick, I need to switch the screen on the stream so that it will show that. Oop, a little bit zoomed in. So that's way too far out. What the heck happened? Hello. There we go. And now I can project that to here. Throw this up here. Share screen. And now you can see me.
Yep, all good.
Okay. Oh, is this timestamped?
Yeah. In the description it is.
It looks like I'm in like the middle of a game though.
It's time in the description I put against each team we went up against. So
are we just starting with the mincemeat match here?
I'll take the
sure. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, just the beginning.
Okay.
rock here.
So, Flutie match. Div E2. Got it. So, for those who don't know, Flutie is a seeding tournament that is used to get teams into their proper divisions in Ludi, Leagues Under the Ink. So the divisions here, Division E, is where the teams are getting seeded, and they don't use numbers so that they don't get confused. Like, oh, I'm already in Division 4? Cool. Like, that's not exactly how it works. They're just kind of eyeballing where they think people should belong. So, what does the F stand for? I don't actually remember what it stands for. I'd have to look it up. So our team comp is leader, brush, shot, and not. So you've got the brush to probably draw aggro, and then the shot and the not to go in and finish splats. Yeah, this can work. This is going to put a lot of onus on the brush to make things happen, because both the splatter shot and the Nautilus and the E-leader really would ideally prefer for somebody else to be getting things started. The splatter shot can do a little bit more of that, but the Nautilus definitely is more about finishing fights than starting them. But that definitely seems like a viable option there. And it's also going to be nice because the Nautilus will have point sensors that the whole team can use to figure out players' locations. So I do think it's like kind of valuable to have a single point sensor on your team. Like, I think that's... You're not necessarily throwing for having it. I think that Nautilus is a little bit underrated right now. But
I always think this is good, but it's got to be bombs and displacement,
Yeah, like the thing with point sensor is that the stronger the players get, the better their awareness is, the less they need the information. They will just already know where people are. And so the utility of it decreases as your team's awareness increases. But anyway, they've got a Tetradules, a Junior, and a Shot. Tetras are probably going to be trying to push in pretty aggressively. Splattershot's probably going to be trying to support that, and then the Junior will be painting along behind them.
Yep.
We're seeing them start to roll out on left. I'm going to go back so I can listen to the callouts.
Three of them have stealth shot.
Yeah, they're pretty just a bit loud, so...
Yep, all of them but you.
Going truck here.
Are they loud on stream?
I'm not listening, but I'm just saying in general, like I'm pretty loud when I do callouts, so...
Yeah, I've turned it way down, but I'm waiting for chat to confirm whether audio is good there. I don't want to be burning their eardrums out. All right, we're good.
Just paint
That worked.
zone. Nice.
Blocking the
One on right, got him.
Nice. I like that you recognized that there was still someone there and that they hadn't moved.
Just paint
That
zone.
worked.
Yeah.
Nice.
Blocking the
One on right, got him.
Got two. Got two. Either's left.
From here, it's just the E-leader. So we want to be moving up as far as we can. The only player that can stop us is the leader. As long as we know where they are and we're taking closed sight lines, we're taking areas that have cover. We need to get in front of the zone here. That's the most important thing, because if we don't get in front of the zone, the enemy team immediately has access to the zone as soon as they respawn. We're just not controlling it for any significant length of time. If we get in front of the zone, even if they come back from spawn and immediately just wipe us, we completely lose a fight. It will still take them longer to get the zone back than if we just sit back here and play it safer. So frontline needs to get moving up here fast.
Nice,
like
nice.
we do not want to be sitting back behind the zone for this long. I want people on top of left truck. I want people getting into the far right side. I want people sharking under this ledge, and I want that happening like 3 seconds ago.
Yeah, he's right in this.
Yeah, I'm
Right,
pretty
snipe there. Don't engage. Just back out. Back out. He's alone.
Charger can absolutely hit that shot. We're spending a little bit too long in their sight line there.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Snipe there.
What you want to do here
Don't engage.
is like, instead of like diving off to the left, because the Charger can still hit this. You can see my mouse, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Charger can still totally hit this angle. So what we need to do is like wait for it to fire a shot and then go in and rush or something. Take advantage of the fact that they're going to take forever to get a charge again before we, so that we can go in and not be shot at while we're doing so.
Engage.
But if the
Uh,
guy has backup, though, what if, say, for example, like someone backs him up?
So the situation that you're currently in, you don't really have the ability to push this guy anymore. You took too long to get in front of the zone, and so you lost the opportunity to push them. If you're moving as soon as that 3 down happens, and you're getting to this bridge before like the Tetras are already dropping on it, this isn't the Tetras, this is the shot, but you know, they were the first up, I think. If you get here before the rest of the enemy team is dropping in, you have the opportunity to go and rush this guy and actually take control of Plat. But because we move as slowly as we do, at this point, our best option is to kind of hole up underneath a ledge or something behind some kind of cover and wait for the enemy team to feed into us. We still did take control of space in front of the zone, so we're going to be able to use that as a buffer to keep them away. But we've lost our opening, our window to go after the Charger because we took as long as we did to move forward. But jumping off the ledge like this is way less safe than pushing across at the Charger, because we do not have range to hit the Charger. They have range to hit us. There's an open sight line. There's no cover, and we're putting ourselves in the air. So all they have to do is hit the one shot. Now they miss, so fortunately you're able to get out of there. But as a general rule, if I'm playing against an E-leader and like I am playing with the expectation that they will not miss a single shot. I am playing with the expectation that when they have charge, if I give them an open sight line, they will take it and they will hit me. You get to a higher level and that will happen, and you will not be able to make them miss. So don't expect for jumping out like that to be able to work, because they had an open sight line, they had charge, that should be a splat. You get away with it, but only by the skin of your teeth.
Got one on right.
So that was a good follow-up. You spotted that there was a fight going on the right, and you went over there to help your teammate. And was there a call that happened there?
Let them come to us. We have turf advantage.
Okay, it sounds like there was some kind of talk about this. It was a little bit difficult for me to hear, but you spot that the player goes down. You immediately shift over here.
Got one on right.
I like all of that. And now one concern is that somebody is able to drop in on the left because there's nobody over here, so I would rotate over to the left again. The bomb... That bomb is
Okay.
very unlikely to get
Got
anything.
one on right. He's dead.
Like, that's going to land, like, pretty far behind the bridge. The E-leader's already rotated over here. Somebody else is already over here. All this bomb is really doing for you is revealing your position. So I would try and actually shark over here instead of giving myself away by throwing something. Because now the E-leader knows you're here. Now if this player is paying a good amount of attention, that they might know that you're coming. And you kind of just have to back up. I don't think you... Well, I don't know. Do you have to back up?
Okay.
Agreed.
I
Got
don't
one
know
on
if I
right.
agree.
He's dead.
Yeah, you probably did because of the charger, now that I'm thinking about it. But if you don't reveal yourself there, you can definitely just shark around the left-hand side. Being on zone here is risky. The longer you stay on zone, the more of a risk there is of trading on zone. You either want to be like in front of the zone or behind the zone. If you're on it, as soon as you trade, as soon as you get splatted, all of the paint that goes down from you when you get splatted lands on the zone, and it makes it more likely that they just cap it because they splatted you. So as the brush, my thinking is like I want to get into a corner where it's difficult for them to both fight me and control the zone. They have to choose one or the other. And then my teammates can follow up on that from like pushing in the front door and pinching them while I'm engaging from the back door. But being out in the open like this, you don't have range on anything. There's not a great sight line for you to be able to hit anybody. You are on the zone, so you're risking it getting painted by you going down. We want to either stay up here or back all the way up back here. And I don't think we needed to back all the way up back here yet, so we wanted to find a way to stay up in this area instead of kind of being in the middle ground in between the two.
So you're saying I pressure them from ledge, basically.
So
Plus we get turf advantage.
ideally, you know, we
Got
take
one on
this
right.
fight, we win it, and then we like shark over to the left and get into a position where this player has to respect us and the E-leader can't hit us.
Dead.
Like if you go over and around the left-hand side, that's probably an advantageous fight you have against this player. And maybe Abilify, instead of standing here, can push up with you and maybe get behind this cover or go up over the ledge or something. You still have to be worried about the charger, but Abilify just kind of goes in and doesn't really get shot by the charger for it. So, but what does happen is they go in and you're not over there with them, and so they go down by themselves. If you're in there pressuring that player that they were engaging from behind, this is probably a fight win for you guys. I didn't hear anything about that play, though. If Abilify is going to go for this play, that needs to get called out. Anyone on the front line, whenever you're taking a fight, whenever you're committing to dropping off a ledge, whenever you're pushing a certain direction, or whenever somebody's shooting at you, any of those things, there's got to be a call out so that everybody knows on your team where the fight is happening. We'll talk a little about team coordination for a second. Team coordination is not about knowing the locations of every opponent on the map at all times. You're not going to be able to be a GPS. You're not going to be able to just tell everybody where every member of the enemy team is. It's not realistic, first of all, for you to know that information. It's going to crowd the comms so that you're not going to be able to say much of anything else. What you really need to know is which fight are we taking so that everybody on your team can collapse on that fight and turn a 1v2 into a 4v2, or to turn a 1v1 into a 3v1. So if you're going to use your numbers advantage and stack the deck in your favor as hard as possible on one particular fight, what needs to happen is we need to take all of our players and put them on that one fight. So what the callouts are for is to determine what that one fight is about to be, and to get everyone to look at that as quickly as possible so that they can all have an impact on it. When you listen to top-level callouts, it sounds so unsophisticated. It sounds so just, like, mindless, like, kill this one, 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 kill this one. Like that's all you're going to hear. Like, L3, 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 L3. And that's about it a lot of the time. But the reason for that is that all of these players, they have the awareness as a solo player to know roughly what's going on in terms of player positions. And as soon as they hear that, they know what their teammate is engaging on, and they know not to create any new engagements. Because if you split the team, if you make it so that 2 people are fighting in one place and 2 people are fighting in another place, now there are fewer situations where you actually gain an advantage from that. Because let's say, you got 2 players, each of them takes a separate 1v1. So 2 1v1s going on the map at one point in time. There are 4 possible outcomes. The first is that both of you lose those fights, which of course you would want to avoid. The second is that both of you win those fights, which is the best outcome. But there's also the possibility that one of you wins and one of you loses, and so you don't gain any advantage from that either way. Sure, it maintains the status quo that way. It's not the worst thing in the world, but the alternative to that is that you put 2 people on one person. So one of those players calls out the fight that they're taking, and instead of engaging in another 1v1, your teammate goes and fights that with you, and it becomes a 2v1. Now you're very likely to win that. And the absolute worst case scenario most of the time is that your player who engages on that fight gets traded, but then, either gets traded or goes down, but then you have the second player to trade back for you. So the worst case scenario in that situation is that you have even numbers, whereas before you're probably not going to get any advantage from taking that fight, and you have just as much of a likelihood of losing it as you did before. So it's better to get everyone on the same fight, which means if Abilify is going in on a fight on the far left-hand side, knowing, as you should know, just kind of as a frontliner, you should have this kind of sixth sense, this awareness that you're the furthest player forward on your team. You want to be calling that to get people up there with you so that this is not happening by yourself. This is absolutely something here that the brush could have gone into support. And I kind of wanted them to be in position to support for that anyway, because I was saying to shark down below. But definitely, if you're going to go up over a ledge like that, if you're going to engage in a fight, I want to hear that you're pushing left before you even get on the wall.
I'm down. Paint zone.
Yeah,
nice.
back up for now.
I got zipcast.
Right.
Yeah, back.
Yeah, I like the calls back up for now. You're doing a good job of recognizing the numbers advantage. They have 4, you have 3. So you get the zone, which is great. That means a few more points are going to tick down. That means it's going to take longer for them to be able to start scoring. But you're not going to be able to hold this realistically. If you stay on the zone and keep painting it, they're just going to rush you because they have numbers advantage. So from here, you're going to have to back up a little bit. It is kind of nice that they threw the wave breaker out. That's not going to get them a lot of value because you're backing away from it.
Back out.
Regroup for now.
It looks like you're
got
getting ready
zipcast
to
ready.
zipcast.
Got one. Bomb.
Nice, good bomb. I like that bomb placement because you knew that they were going to try and poke over that ledge. They didn't really pay a ton of attention to it, and they probably should have, but hey, you got one. And now that really quickly evens up the numbers here. You're moving in very quickly, and you probably want somebody going in with you on this if possible. Okay, good job.
Left,
One on right, one on right, one on pit.
I like the one on
Zone.
right.
Just hold zone, hold zone.
From here, yeah, and good call to hold zone. I was just about to say, we don't want to overcommit on the right because we're so close to KO, and KO is the priority here. If you're able to use this zipcaster to create a distraction and make it so that, somebody has to be shooting at you instead of the zone, that can
Hold on,
help.
I'll get him.
Yeah, Zipcast is a hard special, man. Really hard to use effectively all the time, or most of the time.
Nice.
Nice.
Clean.
Good job. Yeah, very clean. That hold worked really well. They moved a little bit slowly to recap the zone, but once you got that one extra pick, you guys pushed up and took space and kept them off the zone again. So overall, good work. Let's take a game that goes on a bit longer than this one. What's one that's closer than this was?
Closer, probably the later ones. I think rounds 2, 3 ish. They're in the description of the Like there's some ones we lost there, but we did win. So like yeah, like the ones that are 2-1, I'd say.
Oh,
So, like,
actually,
round
so
15.
this same team ends up beating you. So maybe they would be a good one to just keep watching.
Yeah. If you want to check that out, then that's fine.
Because this was a pretty clean win for you guys. So the fact that this ends up not going in your favor, that's something that it might bear some investigation.
All right, I'll run for bridge.
Let's see.
I'm good. I'm gonna run towards mid.
Gonna run for bridge. So what's the goal of going up on bridge here?
I just to kind of throw bombs, establish a bit of pressure a little bit.
Because I'm just worried about the E-leader is my big thing with that.
Similar.
More or less.
Yeah, well, this map's not really made for me, so it's a bit of a hard pick sometimes to.
Well, my thought would be here. Let's. I'm gonna go into recon and talk about some positions here. So I'm gonna transition over to this screen.
Oh.
I'm a big fan of Get Good Hello Kitty.
Yeah, maybe that's for us.
Yeah, this is tower control, tower control. And you're seeing the recon mode that I'm going into?
Yeah, all good.
All right. So, with any backline weapon, we're talking about avoiding open sight lines. And so that means if I'm standing here and I try to shoot someone who's up over the top, I'm going to hit the wall. So this isn't an open sight line with somebody who's up over the top here. Whereas if I'm up over here, this is an open sight line. There's just nothing in the way. Now, if I'm an E-leader and I'm up here, let's think about what I can see. What is in an open sight line to me? There's the tower pillar in the middle, but other than that, anything up here is in my jurisdiction. I am under control of that. But what can't I see? I basically can't see like much over the right-hand side here. Yes, I can hop up onto the wall here and get a better angle, but if I'm down here and I've already got charge, I can't get there. I have to be in kid form, jump up here, then charge. I believe that's how that works. So, and from here, you know, if I'm up here, I'm looking at the right-hand side, just because that's the only reason I would want to go up here. So, one option, if you're trying to kind of sneak in on it, is instead of going for bridge, we go here, so we've got this cover, then here, so we've got this cover, and then maybe here or here. And this whole time, it's really difficult for anybody up there to actually do something about me. And then, obviously, at this point, frontliners are probably going to be in the way. So, once we get to maybe, like, hereabouts, we start looking like, okay, where are opponents in this area? Can I maybe sneak over here? Is this possible? Can I throw bombs from here? Can I throw bombs up here? Is that possible? And, like, that would be a way that you can have an impact on a player who's up there. Can I maybe, like, sneak around here and shark this? If they're really not watching me, can I just, like, sneak all the way around and get up behind the E-leader? That's usually how the E-leader goes down. But standing from here, open sightline against the E-leader pretty much the entire way. So I think it's a much bigger risk to be up here if you're worried about the E-leader specifically and you want to even have an impact on them than it would be to try and take the left-hand side or hide behind mid or just take low ground in general. Because from here, technically the E-leader can probably hit you, but it's definitely not easy. and they have to position very carefully and kind of predictably in order to do it. So you're probably better off on low ground to approach and maybe, like, you know, catch someone around the corner like, haha, I have a brush.
Yeah, so I play like stealth, basically.
Play
Okay.
not even necessarily stealth, just to cut sight lines. Like, the E-leader may well, you know, be watching you as you be like, okay, they fired a shot, so I can go over to here. And they may now be looking at you, but be like, oh, crap, I can't hit this, and turn to look at something else. And then you move when they turn to hit something else. And then you move here. And they may know that you're coming the entire step of the way and be calling you out every step of the way, but they can't do anything about you because they don't have an open sight line. So, in the meantime, what you're effectively doing with countering the charger a lot of the time, a lot of the way that you deal with chargers, is not to, like, dive them and deal with them directly. Because this isn't Overwatch. We don't have Winston, who has 1,000 health and can just, like, launch themselves into the enemy team and expect not to die instantly. There's no such character in this game. The Tentebrella is almost that, except it's very, very slow. It still has less HP, and also it doesn't work right now. So that's not really much of an option. And that's about the closest we get. So we can't just, like, throw ourselves at the backliner like you can in some other games, in, like, an not an MMO, a MOBA, or in Overwatch or something like that. We've got to be kind of careful and take our fights as they come to us. But what we can do is use cover. Because cover allows us to exist in positions where we normally wouldn't be able to because we would otherwise be in range of this weapon. And if we're behind cover, a player who has that super long range is effectively out of play. If they push to getting into an open sight line with us when we're behind cover, they have to push so close to us that we just have the advantage because we splat faster than they do at close range. And so they're just out of play. There's nothing they can do. Once we're here, the game is a 3v4. How is that charger going to have an impact on the game if I'm right here? They can't. And so instead of worrying about the charger so much, what you could just do as a team is decide, okay, we're just all going to take low ground here, and we're going to fight the rest of the enemy team 4v3 and deny the charger angles until we get the opportunity to come up from behind them and do this flank. And that's really how you want to approach a backliner who's, you know, longer range, who's bullying you most of the time. I dealt with that situation an awful lot on the Grillers, where one of my teammates, Devi, played Hydra, and so she was generally going to be bullied out of position by E-leaders a lot of the time, and so the game plan just became, let's not even play against the E-leader. Like, Devi will play in such a way that she has a good angle on the rest of the E-leader's team, but the E-leader is just never going to see them. And since the Hydra has a better advantage over the E-leader's teammates than the E-leader has over her teammates, she just wins the game if the E-leader is never able to take the 1v1 in the first place. And it's kind of a similar thought with you. Just don't fight the E-leader directly. Don't fight the E-leader where it's strong. Never let it see you in the first place, and you should be able to do just fine against the rest of their team, since they don't have as much support. At that point, what happens to the E-leader is it becomes a zoning tool. It's not there to get picks. It's there to deny space. What it is looking at is a space that you can't be in anymore. Because if you end up there, you're not in your happy 4v3 land anymore. Now you're at a massive disadvantage. And so it makes it so that while it may not be able to get picks, which it shouldn't be able to at high level, what's actually going to happen is it's going to just deny you certain areas of the map, and the team is going to play around that to try and capitalize on your movement being restricted. So.
Oh, he's on bridge, pressuring.
So it looks like the Nautilus goes down right away, and then we're 2 down already. We probably don't want to be in this.
Right. Oh, he's on bridge.
So as soon as Nautilus goes down, that's a time to start backing up and giving up space. First checkpoint, not a huge deal. First checkpoint and your team is wiped, much bigger deal. So as soon as that early pick happens, if there's no trade to be had for it, just get out of there.
Pressuring. Blaster
Because
on
we
right.
stay in this fight, and another player goes down in part because we just can't cover all of the angles with as much firepower as they have. From this point, though, for sure, we really need to be getting out of there. 4v2 is just never a winning engagement. And we kind of announce ourselves by firing around the corner. And like, in case you hadn't been watching earlier, I talked about this on the past VOD review. But when you fire shots around a corner, that's announcing that you're about to be around the corner, and like people are going to watch that. They know where you are before you can see around the corner and see where they are. So be really thoughtful about when you are putting shots around corners like that, especially when you know the enemy team is going to be pushing forward into this position. It's very likely that when you do that, they're going to be watching this intently to see if somebody swims into it.
You gotta be careful.
He got me. Shit.
Yeah, and we're pushing against someone who has longer range than us, and they kite us well.
Still alive.
So what started as just the E-leader getting one random pick on the Nautilus before the teams had engaged turns into a 3-down situation because we keep engaging when we could have disengaged and minimized the damage more. So you guys do well here in that you win a fight at a disadvantage. You're in a 3v4 and you end up getting 2 picks for it. Maybe I think it was actually 3.
Ooh, back by five.
But then it immediately gets traded back. You shouldn't expect to be able to win those kinds of fights. We want to pay more attention to the numbers advantage and only go in when we have that kind of advantage, or at least have like a bunch of specials to counteract the one player being down or something. If you see a free pick, you take a free pick as long as it's not going to get traded back. But most of the time, they're not going to give away free picks. And so if you're down a player, just like let up a little bit, back up a little bit, throw some bombs, like waste some time, but don't go in super hard.
Yeah. Guy left.
There are a lot of sort of like solo plays going on right now where we're not waiting for the rest of the team to get back. We're not getting specials and trying to coordinate them. We're just kind of diving in there with what players we do have and taking trades back and forth.
Yeah, shit.
And as we
Still
can
alive.
see, those trades are
Still
not
alive.
really going in our favor here.
Alright. Don't put that much pressure. Just run back out. Back out.
Yeah, I like the call to back out. We want to get everyone back online
You're
here.
looking.
Want to get back to full strength.
Watch for blood. Yeah, watch the bubble.
They've got the bubbler up, so the first priority right now is shred this big bubbler with whatever weapons it's safe to do so. Right now, you want to get your Nautilus aiming at its weak point and out of range of the splatter shot that's on the tower, because nobody else can stop the Nautilus. And so if they stay out of range of the splatter shot, they just get free shots on the Rainmaker bubble, or not the Rainmaker bubble, the big bubbler, and that'll free up the tower to being engaged on. None of the enemy team has pushed up in front of the tower yet, so if you can just shred this big bubbler, you've got this splatter shot who's going to be very vulnerable that you can just rush
Blaster,
at that
he's right
point. But we want to make sure that we've got some paint around the tower before we do go for that rush, and it feels like we're all really far back at the moment. Bridge is not particularly important right now. The towers, like, yes, you can use bridge as high ground, but like, you as a brush can't use that high ground to hit the tower. You're too far away from the tower to be able to use it. If anybody's going to be using that high ground, it's going to be either your blaster or your Nautilus. And if they're not there, I guess your Nautilus was in fact there. But if it's not them taking this area, then that area is not really important. So what I'd be trying to focus on is to make sure that this area around the tower is painted so that your teammates can move around the tower safely. You don't want anyone who rushes the tower to get their feet stuck and suddenly end up in a losing fight like Abilify is in.
Shit, yeah.
That's the disadvantage right there of firing shots that miss. I call them warning shots. These shots right here, first of all, they're not painting anything because the area in front of you is already painted. Second of all, they make it much more visible where you are to the enemy team. Granted, you falling off a ledge is probably going to do that anyway, and I wouldn't have recommended you dropping in the first place. But firing those shots especially, there's no way out after they see all of that.
On me.
That's it.
So we're 2 down now.
Range blaster.
And again, we need to play
He's
safe.
moving
We need to
there.
not just go in and take fights.
Range blaster on our ramp.
And it feels like we're going in and taking fights. These are not going to go in our favor. We're 2 down for getting nothing
dead.
back.
Let's go. Let's go.
You get a
Regroup,
solo
regroup
kill
now.
on someone who's just pushing
I'm
up into your base, but that fight with that was a 2v4, so you're going to lose that. We need to make sure that we're not taking disadvantageous fights.
I'm dead. Yeah. Range blaster on our left side.
Assume,
He's on the ramp.
Yeah, he's on our. He's on that.
Well, is that you?
He's on our drop right there.
What I want to be seeing here, that I think will help the rest of the team get in a little bit better, is for the brush to be using its mobility to like, you don't want to go all the way in and do like solo queue, Clam Blitz brush kinds of things where you're just running all over the place and not a care in the world who sees you. Like, that doesn't work at especially a coordinated level. But if you like get right up into their range with the brush held down and then back up, get them to like shoot at you, but get out of there before they can get shots on you. That's sort of like a bait, is something that can get someone to look at you instead of your teammates, which would set your teammates up to be able to splat them. And you have a lot of teammates who are going to be able to be in a position like that. Like, the splash can hit stuff with burst bombs if it's distracted and looking at you. The range blaster is a range blaster. It wants to be shooting at exactly that range anyway. The Nautilus is one of the fastest splatting weapons in the game, and it has pretty good range. So if you get this guy's attention and make them think they can hit the second shot, but then they don't, someone from down here should, in theory, be able to like do a good amount of damage and pick that player. Throwing bombs at them is not going to like get their attention. It might force them to move a little bit, but it's having less of an impact in terms of letting your teammates engage on that player than I think you could have if you were maybe trying to be a little bit more of a nuisance.
Walking.
Got zip cast ready.
Okay, so we've got a zip
You forgot
cast.
me.
Got Luca.
Back out.
No, dead.
Back out.
Yuka got me.
Whenever you go down, if that player who got you is still there and still a threat, you need to be calling like where that player is, and like very, very quickly and urgently, so that people know where the threat is coming from. Like, if I am in the brush's position here, when that player goes down, I'm like, where? Because I need to know, like, is our position compromised? Am I getting flanked? What do I have to look at in order to keep myself safe?
Got Luca.
Back out.
No, dead. Range blaster.
One's
behind.
dead.
Notice here that you're marked
me.
this whole time. So you got hit by the wave breaker.
Back out.
So when you move forward here, like, they know that you're here. And when you move up onto that wall, like, they're going to see that and they're going to put shots on you and stuff.
Tower's free.
What? Was that a bomb?
Range blaster.
One's
behind
dead.
tower.
Yeah, I guess they just got too far forward and you bombed someone
Kill.
off the shield.
Tower's free.
No.
That
Range
looked
blaster,
weird.
blaster,
That looked
blaster.
like they were inside the
No,
shield.
Range blaster.
Huh.
Lag?
Were they dropping off? Like,
Blaster
One's
behind
dead.
tower.
Bomb kill.
I don't...
Tower's free.
The position seems to show that they were on the tower. I don't get it. I don't know why that worked.
No. Range blaster around tower. Let's go ahead and go.
Something really important right now is we really need to get some paint control. Now that we've got them cleared out of this space, we can't let them move forward into this space as easily the next time. If we don't get this paint control fixed, they're going to be able to reset to neutral from further forward than mid. And that leaves them at an advantage, because you have to push further than they do in order to get the same distance.
He
Go
was.
back.
He is
Just
now.
regroup for
Yeah.
now. Get specials.
He's on me.
Get,
I'm on right.
5 grab ready.
get specials and we'll go ahead and go in.
Yep.
One below, splatter shot?
Yeah, I see him.
I like the call one below splatter shot, and I like that you're calling see him. It sounds like we're kind of putting a little bit of a target on this player's back. Start sharking around down here.
Alright, one
Nice
down,
catch.
One down. They have...
See, this is the kind of sharking that I like seeing. You're putting yourself at low ground, so like we've seen Charger has just had no impact down here. You're not revealing your position until somebody is firing. I guess you did kind of paint a little bit earlier. But you spot someone very quickly, and thankfully they're shooting at your teammates instead of at you.
One down. They have...
So you're able to help win that fight. And now this is advantage. And now what needs to happen is we need to get some paint control out here. Like, we need to get our splash especially up here to start painting this. One potential issue with the comp that I'm now seeing is that the splash is really the only painting weapon. The Octobrush can paint, but it's better at painting for special than it is at painting for paint control. And then you've got a Range Blaster, which is one of the worst painters in the game, and a Nautilus, which is pretty lackluster in paint and also relies on its team for paint. So that might be something to think about, just that maybe part of the reason that we're not getting paint control as fast as we could is that we don't have as many weapons that want to be painting. This is kind of relegating the splash to play paint support in order for our team to be able to move as quickly as possible here. And they'd probably rather be using this crab aggressively.
Can you come here for a second?
One out. One mine block.
Come here, please.
On my out.
Hold up. Shit. I got him.
Mine.
Dead.
Yeah.
Nice.
Watch the blast.
Sounds like there's a
Backing out.
conversation going on
He's on bridge.
Yeah.
besides the game on
we're good
someone's
for now.
comms there.
Yeah. Watch Zuka.
Alright, so what happens here?
I got
Mine.
So, right now... how's this?
He's on
Right. He's dead.
Alright, one down.
So we get
down.
one.
They have Wavebreaker ready.
Looking at numbers.
Wella, can you come here for a second?
One out.
One of us goes down, so they're even numbers now, but we have a crab on tower.
On my out.
Hold up. Shit.
Another one goes down on right.
Mine.
Dead.
Yeah.
Behind, we trade that. But now, as soon as the crab goes down, I would say, even as soon as we get checkpoint, I'd say this is mission accomplished, let's back up. And here's why. Yes, we didn't get lead, but a push really only matters in tower control, in my opinion, if you're either getting lead or getting a checkpoint. If you're not doing one of those two things, the points that you are gaining are absolutely useless. It's a high watermark game mode. You don't get any credit for cumulative points, for like any of the points in between. It's just, did you beat their score or not? So if you're in a position where you're like 2 down, the enemy team's starting to respawn, there's a lot of orange paint around you, and there's not a lot being done about that orange paint around you, and people are like directly aggressing the tower, there's nothing in between you on the tower and that, just back up, because we already made progress with this push. We already got the first checkpoint. And instead of going an extra player down when we don't have to, what we could be doing here is taking some time, backing up a little, painting and getting control of mid, so that when our teammates do get back in, we have a little bit more space. We're already through that checkpoint, and it's going to be a lot faster to get to the next one once we have the opportunity to push a second time. But if we stay on this push, we're more likely to go down and stagger, and that's exactly what's
Backing
happening
out.
here.
He's on bridge.
Yeah.
Alright, we're good for now.
Yeah. Watch Zuka.
Even without the Zuka, I'm not a huge fan of staying up here just because there's an E-leader in the game.
Watch Zuka. Don't push.
Like, the Range Blaster, if they're afraid of the E-leader, could be attacking the E-leader from ground level, up over the top of a ledge or something. There are a lot of ways that we could remove the E-leader's influence from play, but being up there on bridge isn't one of them. Now, if we put the crab tank up here on bridge, that's a different story. That's something that can actually contest an E-leader at that range. So that I would understand. But most weapons probably don't want to be up there.
Corner braid.
for too long of a
Okay.
time, just because the leader is positioning.
Corner braid.
Notice how little space you have to work with right now. You can't go forward right, you can't go forward left. Backwards is painted, so you have to put the brush down to get anywhere. As you're putting the brush down, you're not painting anything, and so this is going to stay orange as the enemy team pushes forward. Like, paint control is a big problem for the team right now. Yeah, being marked there, as soon as the wave breaker hits you, I don't see a really safe way out of this. I think your best hope is to put the tower between you and the leader. I think that's the fastest way to get behind cover. And we do kind of try, but...
Range blaster on our left.
Range blaster top left. That's going to be a powerful position for it. That's really hard for us to go into, but good job.
Down.
Good job going and getting it.
Paint mid a little. Paint
Yeah.
left here.
We definitely want to
Wave
paint.
breaker now.
I like the call.
Zuko, watch it. Paint left here.
Wave breaker now.
Once you get around this area, you probably want to start collecting some information
Zuko, watch it.
so that someone doesn't jump you exactly like this. Because we painted the left side, right? We were pushing out on the left.
Down.
But we know that the splatter shot is here because they threw a bomb there just now.
Paint mid a little. Paint left here.
And we haven't like got any paint going down in this direction. So for all we know, there
Wave
could be
breaker now.
someone sharking still.
Zuko, watch it. Don't push.
Ah, you literally got me.
And so because... Okay. So... Because I'm talking about how we need to push forward quickly once we've got an advantage. But this is... pushing forward needs to involve like painting relatively safely. Or alternatively, if you're not going to paint safely and you're just trying to rush forward from map position, then you need to send multiple people there because the advantage you have over the enemy team is numbers. If you're not putting all of your numbers forward, then you're not able to use your advantage, and one player can just like stop people. So, I like the call like Zuka, watch it, don't push. That should keep us from getting splatted, from two of us going down. And the fact that that call went down and then we still lost another player is something we want to work on in terms of
we have to get specials in
our
this
response
offense.
to the call-outs, our response to the information available.
Yep. Paint for specials.
One down. One down, one down. Start building specials. Get mid.
Okay.
Range blaster below
So
tower.
one
left
down,
side.
we're calling start getting specials to get mid.
Start building specials. Get mid.
We
Blaster
haven't
below
really
tower,
used
left
a
side.
lot of specials
Blaster got
in
me.
this match. I want to look at the totals at
Blaster
the
was-
end to see how many specials we each end up using.
I don't know if
I got the text ready.
documented that, so
Okay.
Pressure you, leader. Fuck. Got you, leader. Blaster's still alive.
Okay, so this happens pretty haphazardly. We've got one player on the bottom left. We've got one player pushing across bridge. We've got another player who I think was on the back
Fuck.
right.
Got you, leader. Blaster's still alive.
Where's
He's on
the
bridge.
blaster?
On bridge. On bridge.
Yeah, like, we go in 3 different directions during that fight. And so, again, I would say, get everyone fighting in the same place. Win that fight, then move up. Doesn't have to be exactly the same place. So, for example, if somebody's going over bridge, you can send somebody up in this direction. That's a valid option. Or if someone's fighting on bridge and you have someone with super long range over here, they can engage on that fight from this angle. You know, you can put people in different places, but they need to be a part of the same fight.
Oh, I really died of that? Oh, wave breaker.
I like that we're not immediately getting on
I'm
tower,
suiciding it.
that we're waiting for more information. This is a situation, we've got enough time. We can probably, like, actually make a steady push to try and get through this checkpoint. We can probably wait just a second to get people further
suiciding
forward and, like, get this
Nice,
in
nice,
for
nice.
lead
Take it more if you can.
in a
No, I
safer
can't.
manner so we don't lose
All right,
people.
Back out, back out, back out, back out.
Regroup for now. Just regroup
Because we get wiped right
for
there.
now.
Hold mid.
For going for that. Whereas if we just kind of play the slow, steady push,
Shit,
I think that's
Zuka.
plenty of time to actually get the lead and keep ourselves safe and get a bigger lead. Because now we're a bit scrambled, and the Zuka just
on me.
happens to get someone, and so now we're staggered. And this is not a difficult lead for them to be able to
No, they're
get
gonna
back.
get back. It's over.
They don't have a checkpoint they've got to go through before they get to this lead. Yeah, we already lost it.
Damn.
So, in the couple of ideas there. One would be if you're going to just suicide it for basically everybody else to back up and preserve their lives and play for their lives instead of going in. A second one, though, would be to slow, steady push your way in and apply pressure to the enemy team as you move forward, and then finally get someone on tower to maybe stall it. Take your time getting on the tower. Try to get a crab on top of their bridge. Try to get the blaster in an annoying position. Try to get the Nautilus somewhere where they can splat people for trying to approach the tower. And like start to move forward and actually really get a checkpoint and maintain control while you do it.
Have to be pressured.
As soon as we go for the suicide play, we lose control and
I'm trying.
we start staggering. And yeah, we don't have the...
Yeah, because these maps fucking suck.
Let's see if we... Okay, it fades out from there, so we're not going to be able to
Yeah.
see the end of that. All right. Okay. So... Let's talk for a second about game plan, about like how to play the objective. And we'll talk about it on several different modes, just to give us an idea. Why is it so zoomed in? Okay. And, all right. So y'all should be able to see this okay. I'm going to resize this a little bit so that it's highlighting more of what I want us to see. So, I'm not going to talk about weapon comps or anything right now, because I think there are some more basic fundamentals that we should talk about first, and that's going to be more important for us to be learning for the time being. So I'm just going to put out a bunch of splatter shots. And we're going to make them bigger because for some reason they're tiny. Let's just pretend that our entire comp is 4 splatter shots, and their entire comp is for 10 attack splatter shots. Because they're a different color, and I don't really care about the kits and subs and the specials or anything like that. Actually, we might need to make these a little smaller. There, that's probably pretty good. So, that was weird. A 10 attack splatter shot has a relatively short range. It controls about this much space around it. So, if you take all of the 10 attack splatter shots and put, well, all of the splatter shots, I guess, and you put them out on the map, they'll control this zone, and they'll control this zone, and they'll control this zone around it. And this is where your team, I would say, has control. You know, as much of this red, as much as a space is within one of these red circles, that's how much it is under your team's control. So, like, your team has a lot of control over your freezer right now. It doesn't have as much control over the far right-hand side, but it does have a little bit. Whereas it has no control over here. So, basic stuff, but what ultimately ends up happening... is there a way to just undo all the... Okay, there we go. But what ends up happening overall is when you guys roll out, you'll have... If we approximate, you know, what the battle lines look like for your team, they end up kind of looking like this. There's just kind of this overall line that's consisting of all of these circles adding up together, But this is basically what your team controls, that line across mid there. If the objective is on your side of this line, so if you are able to advance far enough that this line here is past the zone in splat zones, then your team is able to play the objective. Now, if the enemy team is able to overpower you, so let's say that you guys have 2 down, yes, like, you control this kind of space if these players are here, but they control this space better because they can put every single fight into a 2v1 instead of being a 1v1. So if they were to disrespect your zone, they would be able to get away with it because your ability to enforce your zone is weaker than their ability to encroach on your zone. So all of this theory depends on you being able to keep a numbers advantage and keep those players up enforcing the zone. If this player is back here and just playing turf war and painting, and this player is over here because they haven't realized that it's time to push up, we can artificially end up putting ourselves in a 2v4, not because we're actually that many players down, but because we're not enforcing our zone. We're not pushing far up enough that we're controlling the area that we need to get objective control. So when I say that, like, I want us pushing up in front of the zone, it's because in splat zones, the way that you win the game is by keeping the splat zone within your zone of control. And since you are at a disadvantage if you are on the zone, in order to enforce your zone of control better, you want every member to either be behind the zone but able to still enforce the zone from there. So maybe this is a backline weapon. Maybe we switch this out for an E-leader and they can stand here. Or you want them to be in front of the zone so that they're enforcing the zone and they can't die on the zone. And I realize I'm probably being really confusing, interchanging zone of control versus splat zone here, but hopefully you kind of get the idea. So in splat zones, let's move stuff out of the way. The way that you play the objective is by moving this basically far up enough that there is no way that the enemy team can reach this general area right here. If you can keep them out of this general area, it is impossible for them to paint the zone because they need to stand like somewhere near it to be able to reach it and actually get paint down on it. If they can't do that, then it is impossible for them to win the game. They need to aggress and get into your zone of control to be able to gain access to it. Now, it works a little bit differently in other maps because, in other modes, because in other modes, oh goodness, we're gonna have to reset this every time, aren't we? In other modes, oh, it doesn't show the tower path either. Lame. In other modes, so this is tower control. So I'll draw the tower path really quick. And there's like box here, here, and here. No, not there. Here. So it's different in splat zones because in splat zones the objective doesn't move. But in tower control, the objective has to go along this line. So wherever this point is, wherever the tower actually is on this line, that is your splat zone. So you can just think about there being a game of splat zones, except the zone is slowly moving along this line. Think of the center of the zone being right on this dot. And so you need to control this area. But if it's over here, you need to control this area. So that's the thought process. So if the tower is up here, and we've got all of our members behind it, except for the one who's riding it, that's a problem. Because the area that we need to control, the area we need to keep the enemy team out of, is right here. Well, the enemy team has full access to that area from any direction. And that's why it's a bad idea to just get on the tower while you haven't gained an advantage yet, because you don't control this area. Also, even if you are trying to control this area, but you haven't taken any of them out yet, this player who's on the tower is at a slight disadvantage because they have to stay on the tower and they can't push up and engage on fights. So if a fight were to happen over here, for example, the player who's on tower can't have an impact on that fight. They can't rotate to help that, even though they're the closest player to it. So there's a bit of a disadvantage to being on tower, and so you don't control this zone as well if you've got someone on tower, and that's why you want an advantage before you start pushing as well. And so some things that I'm seeing happen as a team. Number one, we'll be trying to make objective plays while the enemy team has a numbers advantage. And so they can just disrespect our zone, rush in, and take the tower, even though we're trying to push it. And then when that happens, we stagger. And do you guys know what I mean when I say the feed stagger loop? I don't know if you guys, how much of my videos you guys have seen.
I think I get it. Yeah, I think I understand. Yeah.
Okay. So for those who are watching who might not know, the feed stagger loop is where you end up in a position like this, where you've got a numbers disadvantage, and if, let's get rid of some things because they're getting in the way. There we go. No, not that. No, don't highlight that. Highlight this. There we go. Delete. There. So in a situation like this, we're in a 4v2. These players probably lose this fight. So if they stay in this fight, they get splatted, and now these two members are out on the field while these two are splatted. Well, now this team moves forward. They still have a 4v2, and so they're still going to win this fight. And now the other two spawn back in. And now these two move forward. And you just lose control of the map because the entire time you have a numbers disadvantage, and it's just because you lost one fight and never recovered from that one fight. So that is the feed stagger loop. So one thing that's happening is we're just not recognizing when someone goes down and backing up. Because the way you avoid the feed stagger loop is you go, oh, wait, we're two down. And you get back here. And then by the time the enemy team pushes up to that position where they were trying to fight us before, now it's even again. And now we can actually push them back. Plus, these two players who survived, they're probably going to have special by that point in time. And so now, instead of being in like some 1v2, they actually are able to push this zone further back because they have specials to use. And now the enemy team is forced further backwards, and we're back to a more even game state because we stayed alive. So that's one thing that we need to work on as a team, is making sure that when people go down, we are not staggering ourselves. Another thing that needs to happen is we need to recognize when it's safe to push the objective. And by that I mean when we have enough of an advantage to keep the enemy team out of the zone around the objective. So a lot of what's happening here is we've got like maybe one player down on either side, and the game state looks something like this, where someone's on tower and nobody's out in front of the tower, and on top of that, all of this area is painted the opponent's color. The opponent controls this zone stronger than we do, even though the numbers are even. And so before we're going to push into this, we need to get control of it. Now, that's not to say that we should play slower. It's to say that we need to get this player up here, and they don't need to engage this player directly right now. In fact, if they do that, they're at a disadvantage, because remember, all of this is painted for the enemy team. What we need for them to do is to stay out of range for a little bit, paint this up for yourselves, and we can get this player to maybe get up here and kind of try to do the same thing. Gain control of that, and now we're all in the same place, and we're all forward, and we have paint. Now we can start pushing up and taking these fights, and we can do that fairly quickly if we coordinate it and aim at the same target. Now, if this player right here takes a fight over on this side, while this player is taking a fight over on this side, that's a problem. And that's also happening a lot. I pointed that out a couple of times. You never want two fights happening at once, because like I said, there's sort of the Punnett square, where this is the only one that you like. These three are all situations that don't really benefit you. Whereas if it's just one fight, win-lose, and you have a better % chance of winning because you're putting everyone on the same fight, this is the odds that you really like to have. And so instead of putting people on opposite sides of the map and having them take these different fights, we want these two collapsing on this one player before these guys can get involved. And you know what? Maybe this player can get in the way of this guy and stop them from getting involved. And that gives you enough time for these two players to take out this guy, and then they rotate. And they're able to help you out. But it's got to be one fight at a time. There's only one major engagement that your team is trying to take at any given moment. And the absolute most that is happening anywhere else on the map is if this player gets attacked, this guy is going to stall and kite back and do whatever it takes to stay alive. Because they know if this player is attacking them, they're not engaged on the main fight that's over here. And you're giving your team the best chance of winning that. Plus, once your team does win that, and you've removed these two guys from play, now, if you've done a good job of skirmishing against this guy, and you've maybe like drawn them all the way out to here, now your team is in a really good position to just collapse on them and take them out. So, the biggest way that I think a lot of this is going to work out is going to be in callouts. Because the way that we get this to happen, where we're ganging up on someone, is a frontliner sees this engagement, sees that they have a teammate nearby, and calls, push left, and gets that player to go with them. That's not happening very much from what I'm seeing on the comms here. And so that's something that we really want to work on. That will also make it so that once that play is called, other players on the map know not to be over here while this is happening. And so that will prevent us from taking individual fights. That'll prevent us from going into disadvantageous fights. That'll also just kind of prevent us from staggering because we won't be dying as much. But let's say that this is just a little bit mistimed. This player is able to take this player out. This guy, well, okay, let's move this over here. This guy needs to not engage here, because then this player can just skirmish, let this player come in, and this is a problem. So as soon as the fight over on the left-hand side goes poorly, we need this guy to be calling, I'm down, back up, and get this player out of here with as much possible speed. So that's the callouts I want to talk about. We've talked about zones. We've talked about tower. In Rainmaker, also fairly simple. Very, very much similar to tower. The zone that matters is the zone that is in front of where the Rainmaker needs to push. So if the Rainmaker is trying to push this way, and they're here, all that matters is this area right here. If somebody's over here, they're out of play. If somebody's over here, they're out of play. If somebody's even over here, they're probably too far behind the play to have an impact on it. It's just everything that's right in here, and that's what matters if the Rainmaker is on this spot. Now that shifts if the Rainmaker starts to go a different direction, because we need to interpret a little bit what in front of it means. If the Rainmaker goes this way, then this might matter. But if the Rainmaker goes this way, then this is what matters, and this is a flank route at best. So recognizing what direction the Rainmaker is going is really important. You need to be able to spot where it's heading and act preemptively so that you go, okay, it's over here. That means it's on this line, and I can't stop it, from getting first checkpoint maybe, but I can put myself here, and that cuts them off from being able to get any further past first checkpoint. And that's the way that you kind of play around the Rainmaker. Finally, Clam Blitz is an interesting mix of a few of these modes. So, in Clam Blitz, there are potentially multiple Rainmaker carriers. Like, let's say you've got a Power Clam. And the Power Clam, and the Power Clam is right here. And then you've got another Power Clam that's right here. Now, everybody knows that this Power Clam eventually wants to make it to the basket. Either from here, or from here, or from here, we don't know, but it wants to make it there. And if you put yourself in a position like right here, where you can cover this option, and you can also cover this option, and you can also cover this option, you're able to defend them from doing that. And so you're able to play defense just like you would against the Rainmaker. One additional challenge, though, is that if you get two Power Clams, you can maybe defend from one of them, but you need a teammate to defend from the other. So that's the only real difference with how it pushes across the map. But then once you get the basket open, the way that this works is it's splat zones, but the center of the zone is the basket. Because think about what makes this area important around the zone. It's how close do you have to be to the zone to be able to paint it. What is this zone? It's how close you have to be to the basket to be able to throw clams into it. Same exact kind of thinking, but as long as you can keep the enemy team out of that area around the basket. If you're on offense, you can score. If you're on defense, you can keep them from scoring and let the basket close. So once you get to this position, now you're just thinking, how do I lock out the area around the basket? And this is where a lot of people go wrong in their understanding of Clam Blitz. It's that instead of thinking, I need to play keep away, they think, I need to get in and stand just barely close enough to the basket that I can score. And what happens then is the opponents see, oh, my zone needs to be expanded by a tiny little sliver. Whoop. They move one person 2 steps forward, and you get splatted after throwing in at most 2 individual clams. And that's about all that happens there. On defense, your goal is to take this zone of control and then expand it, and then expand it, and to just kind of keep moving that outward, making sure, obviously, that nobody can slip in, because if you're trying to control... Oops. Oh, dear. Okay. Sorry about that. If you're trying to control this... Oops. This whole area, you're going to spread yourself a little bit thin doing that. Like, you put a player here, and a player here, a player here, and a player here. As soon as, this player goes down, the middle's just open. So you got to be a little bit careful about that. But on Make-O-Mart, for example, this is a very attainable level of control. And what you want to make sure is that you're painting this very, very meticulously so that as soon as any opponent tries to go into that zone, not only are they running into enemy ink, they're also more visible, and you're going to see that coming, and they're going to have to do it slower. So that's what's going to help you defend the basket the best, is if you can just kind of keep this all painted like it's the splat zone. So those are your objective ideas. And we've talked about some of the concepts in terms of callouts and whatnot that we want to start working on to accomplish that. What I think might be useful here is to play some matches with me on the team so that I can model the kinds of callouts that I'm looking for and try and help show you the way that I would orchestrate getting the team to all focus on the same thing at once. We've got, I think, 3 members of the team here, right?
Yeah.
Did somebody else new join us? Yeah. So we can actually just play with a team of 4 right now if you guys all have access to your switches.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done.
So I will send you guys all a DM with a password and my friend code.
All right.
Actually, no, I can just friend one of you, and then all of you will be able to join in that person. That'll be quicker.
You friend me. I'll do it.
Okay. And now I'll DM the rest of you the password. Actually, I probably could have put that in the VC DM, but too late.
It is what it is.
It do be what it do be do. Okay, cool. So I can put this in and nobody will know because it's not on screen. Bahaha. So diabolical. All right. Room is up. So, oh wait, no, I shouldn't put the room up yet because I need to accept the friend request first.
Yeah.
So I will still actually need to fall back on a password guardian here. Oh, I also need to delete someone. And boink. No, we know them. How about you? I don't remember who that is. And before they're watching and they're devastated. Oh my god, this is taking forever. Okay. Okay. So now we make a lobby very slowly. Cows.
Nice.
Okay. Should be joinable shortly.
You guys can join me now. Nice.
I don't have a password for some reason.
Hello, chat.
I'll DM it.
Ideas for gear for the Ford Splattershot Pro. My ideas for gear are sendu.inc/builds.
There you go.
Any advice on getting adjusted to X rank? It's my first time. I've really been struggling to get used to the difference in difficulty. Recognize that a lot of what's happening is probably mechanics. There are probably a lot of players that are just playing faster and aiming better. But also recognize the difference in speed, that they are making decisions faster. And think about what those decisions are slower so that you can speed them up later. Okay, Clams, Inkblot, and Mako Mart. I'll adjust around what you guys are playing. So is this what you want to run?
I'm really like a one trick. I'm kind of just like brush, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So Geesh is playing the brush. Abilify and Xeno, what are you guys thinking? Are you on those weapons or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna stick with Zimmy.
All right. So that gives us Tri-Strike. That gives us Big Bubbler. Inkblot, Mako. I think I'll stay Splash because I think Crab is going to be really powerful on both of these places. So, let me get the gear set up. So, what I want to see for how we're going to run this is Xeno is sort of like our pseudo anchor. Xeno is going to be the longest ranged weapon that we have, and so they're the last one who's probably going to go down in a fight, and they're the one who's gonna give us super jumps if we need to come back in. So they'll still be playing up and taking fights with us and stuff, but they're going to be the least aggressive. Then Geesh is going to be. I want to see Geesh trying to be a little bit more stealth, not necessarily stealthy, but to take more difficult routes for them to be dealt with. Don't just run up the middle. Use cover, put yourself in positions where they have to turn around to be able to go after you or something like that. And to try and set up fights on the same side of the map that me and Abilify are on. And then we'll try and call those engagements when we see them and to go on those all as a team instead of taking separate fights in different places. All right?
Got it.
Sound
Do
like a
my
plan?
best. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll do my best here.
All right. Whenever y'all are ready. Where can I find a map to learn callouts? There is not currently a universally accepted community list of callouts, which I think is silly, and there are people who have claimed responsibility for that task that have not done it yet. And if they keep...
We have our own little set of
Yeah.
callouts that we use, but they're just for us.
A lot of teams are starting to do that, and I feel like we're just going to have a very inconsistent set of callouts that different groups use if this goes on for too much longer. So I'm a little bit annoyed at the community members who have claimed responsibility for that who haven't actually produced anything yet.
I think I'll take right here.
Okay. They're double back. So watch out for sight lines, play patiently because they don't have a lot of pushing power. And so we're not going to have to worry about them rushing us super fast. We just need to make sure we get in safely. Charger on left,
Stringer on
Stringer on
stack.
left. Stringer on right, sorry.
Alright, that's the shorter on left. They outrange me.
One on
Splash
stack,
on
got
left.
him. Nice.
Nice.
That's another one down. Let's start
Charger.
putting pressure forward.
Alright.
We need to take space in mid. I'm painting up.
Yeah.
Got it.
Stringer is forced out of right.
Flash.
Charge on left here.
Charger got me. He's on left.
Crabbing.
One on two stacks.
One on me behind. I bumped him once. They're down. One dropped right. There's still one far right. Focus far right. Focus far right behind us.
Focusing.
And freezer.
Got Stringer. Got Inkback.
It's just,
Nice. All right, there's one the freezer. I'm pushing up.
Going on stack.
Help me on right. They're in freezer. They're moving
Long,
left.
long.
moving on left.
I have 6 if we
Got a
have.
football.
Nice. Go for it.
Throwing
I'm
it, got
gonna.
it.
Got the guy on left. Watch the stringer on left there.
I can get clams in from their bunker.
Right. I'm holding,
I'm gonna keep it open.
back a little
Get
bit.
more clams and
Trading.
rotate them in. Get more clams and rotate them in. I'm down.
Behind.
Watch the stringer.
Going back.
Splash in middle. On left here.
Yeah, I got sniped here.
All right.
Flash
Get
on right stack.
Watch
Flash
out,
on
we're
right
losing
stack.
paint in
Yeah.
mid. We're losing paint in mid. Make sure we're painting as we go up.
I got it.
Charger got me. He's on right stack. Charger on right stack.
I think Abilify is DCing.
Oh. Yeah, I got a really laggy kill there.
Well, they're still here.
People on left side.
Crabbing on
I can't
left.
tell.
Nice, got one.
Nice.
Crab on left
I'm just
still.
keeping mid
I have
bandage.
sticks. Let me know when you guys are ready to
One
push.
above.
Their crab still left.
Yeah, see.
Got him.
One's in our base.
Good stop.
Watch the on
Yeah.
right stack too.
Football on stack.
I have special ready.
All right. So Jishi's on right.
Yep, guys ready?
Fight mid, fight mid, fight mid.
Football on mid.
Got him. I'm down. Charger on left.
Charger's still alive.
I'm
On
approaching
left.
charger.
Evac.
Yeah.
Evac on left.
Yeah, couldn't get him.
Yeah.
There's
I got
someone to our back right. Be careful.
Run on my
Back up.
spot. Run on my.
Charger is approaching mid. He's
Yeah, he's on perch there.
That was
Yeah,
a really laggy junior.
Got
kill.
one.
There's the
I
DC.
DC'd.
Yeah, DC.
We're gonna have to play it out. So, you know, one of them might be DCing too. They were also standing still. Okay, careful. We're one down. Don't overcommit. I might be able to shark this player. Yeah, I got this. I think. Oh my god, I should have had this.
Charger's on right stack.
I should have had this a long time ago, but I got him. One pushing you
First
right.
bomb.
I'm all right here.
Watch out! Watch
Squad
out in
is
the
on
bubble.
right,
In the
approaching
bubble.
freezer.
Got
Hit him
bubble.
twice.
Got jumper.
Still one in our freezer.
Alright. Cuts.
Nice, nice, nice.
Alright. Charger's retreating. He's on right stack.
Got
Pushing up
charger.
freezer. Nice. Get painted
Yeah,
in.
the
Get
one's
painted
in
in.
breakfast. He's approaching mid.
Careful, you're alone, Zeno. Good job backing up.
Should I grab penalty?
No. Definitely don't do that. That will reveal your position and make it
They're on
difficult to
stack.
defend.
They're approaching us. I got him.
Got one.
Bubbling mid.
Crab
Crab
on
on left.
stacks. Crab weak. Nice.
Nice.
Crabbing myself. Got one. Another one on
Charger's
right stack.
One chopped off.
Shark
Got
in
him.
here.
Right stack weak.
Charger,
Nice.
got him.
One's approaching on our left side. Yeah, they're going towards basket. They're in our spawn.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll watch the front. You guys go after that.
They're casting here.
Alright.
He's out.
All right. Nice.
Got him.
Stringer on me. Junior's alone. Got him.
Got one. Charger down. Another one on left.
Nice.
Beautiful. Good job following up on that guy on the left. I didn't even call for you to go for them, but it looked like you saw that I was engaging on left, and you took them out on as they got forced away.
Were you guys able to hear me that match?
Are you the one who DC'd? Because I didn't hear
Yeah.
anything from you. I don't think after the DC happened.
No, I wasn't talking after the DC, but I mean before that.
From the DC, I think I heard you, yeah.
I don't know everybody's voices to names just yet, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna hit stop on that one.
Yeah, I'm
and-
stopping.
I'm checking to see if the replay exists. Cool, it does. Okay. So while Abilify was out of there for a minute, I just want to go in and point out a few things.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to look at the overhead now, which is very similar to the way that we were looking at the Sendu Detting / plans part earlier. So you can kind of look at us right now and see what our zone is that we control. And it's really important right here to actually get paint control down on that zone. Something I'm noticing in particular from Abilify is like there's a whole bunch of paint to like your front left and like up on the stacks and stuff that you're not doing a lot to paint. You're allowing there to be a lot of green ink around you as you move in. And when that happens, we're starting to get our feet caught up. We're starting to get trapped a little bit. So make sure that like before the engagement happens, you're getting as much paint as you can so that when the engagement happens, you're able to move.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, wait. Maybe you were and you just teleport. Did you see that teleport?
Yeah.
That was oh dear. Okay. Well,
He's really powerful. He just suppresses his power.
there we go. One other thing that I'm doing here pretty subconsciously, I don't even know if I even called this, but I'm seeing that the charger is on left and I'm moving to right. Because remember, that's how when we have like a difficult backliner that we're dealing with, that's how we take them out of play, by playing from a position that they can't see, or they don't have the range to hit. So I'm moving over to the right, seeing that they're controlling the left-hand side, and there's that whole range around them that they would control. Abilify here is kind of challenging that a little bit, and that's something where if Squinja had like taken their time just a little bit more with their shot, they might have spotted Abilify and been able to snipe them there. And there, Abilify does actually end up getting sniped. And so that's why I'm taking the side that I'm taking there. It's to stay away from charger fire. Now, if you have a way to suppress the charger from where you're at, you know, that's different. If you can like fire a special at them, if you're able to like throw burst bombs or something, that's one thing. But if you're just like moving into the open sight line against them, then that's dangerous. So I really like this play from Geesh if it weren't for the fact that somebody had slipped behind us here. We get a little bit split here because they're making a run at the basket and we're dealing with that first. The fact that Geesh is able to stay alive is actually huge. I wasn't expecting that was going to happen, but because you were able to do that, you kept the entire enemy team away from us while we took our 2v1, and now we've got numbers advantage and we're going to be able to collapse on the rest of them. And I'm calling Abilify over to this fight on the left, you can see. I recognize that this player is here in our zone, and so I'm calling for us to enforce that zone. And they end up getting protected by the vac there, and they do get away, but notice that they don't have enough clams to score here. So they're basically putting their team at a numbers disadvantage, and we're going to be able to score before they do. So it's smarter for us to be pushing this and trying to get a score in now than it is for us to be like chasing that guy around our base. Something I want to point out about this is what I am doing during this push. Because I think like my contribution to this was a large part of why it worked as well as it did. And it's something that I'm guessing we're probably not doing right now. So look at where I am relative to the rest of the team. I'm pretty far away from them, but I'm in a position that I can retreat from. Like if I go down the ramp that's to my left there, I can just get around a blind corner and I'm in range of Xeno. So this is a little bit aggressive, but it's relatively safe too. And another thing is that I already know that the charger's up here and they don't happen to check to see where I'm at. So I'm able to at least chase them away. I really should have been able to splat them ultimately, but... And what I do over here is I'm scoring clams one at a time to keep the basket open. I'm not scoring them all at once, because if I score them all at once, I lose all of that potential to reset the timer before I score again.
I didn't even think of that. Jeez.
Because the timer will never go past 10 seconds. You can have at most 10 seconds remaining before the basket closes at any point in time, unless you score more clams. Well, if I'm throwing them immediately, I'm resetting like the tiniest sliver of those 10 seconds. Like you can't go up to 13. So you have to at least wait until there's like 9.9 seconds, and then you reset only 0.1 second. So I'm over here and I'm waiting, and I'm stalling the basket. I'm just keeping it open for as long as I possibly can. And it is only because I'm doing that any of you guys, that Xeno in this case, are ever going to be able to get more clams in after I make that play. What that also does is that gives us control for longer, because that makes the enemy team have to defend their basket for a longer amount of time. They can't push out too far past their basket, because if they push out too far past their basket, like we discussed, they might let somebody slip through and get to score more clams and keep their basket open for longer. So when your basket is open, you're kind of obligated to at least put most of your team on defense, and that means that during that time they're on defense, we can be taking control of mid. And sure, we're going to be scrambling around to get some clams while we're in mid, but we're going to get more paint in mid that way. Partly because we're looking for clams, partly because we're moving. It might just be because we're trying to farm for special. But we are able to hold for that much longer because we staggered the clams. And now that the basket is closed, we're backing up or teleporting forward. Hard to say. So I generally like what Xeno and Abilify are doing. They're not hard engaging on anything that's disadvantageous to them, but they're maintaining control of mid by putting on some pressure that is making it more difficult for the enemy team to push in. Now, we've got to be careful here because they are at a numbers disadvantage for a short time, but the splash and the tri-stringer from the other team don't get involved in this. And that's the reason that we're able to pull this off. And he's gone. Oh, I guess it was a trade. I disengaged from this fight on the left here. So let's take a look at that for a second. So we go and get this charger. And I look and I see we don't have anywhere near enough clams to be able to score yet. So even though we have the numbers advantage, it's pointless for us to try and control the area around the basket for now. We need to go and get some more clams first. So I go into here and realize, wait, I'm being shot at by the tri-stringer. There's someone on the left. I don't have support yet. I'm just going to back up. And now I crab from here. Crabbing from here, you can see that that's actually a great line. The shots, you can see that the line that you can see my shots are making. If you just like draw a circle using that, I can't draw on this screen unfortunately, but if you were to just do kind of like a semicircle from the tri-stringer to the splash, let's say. Think about that radius. Think about how my zone is bigger now. And I'm much safer in just standing up there and exerting control over that zone. That's the power of the crab tank. The crab tank turns whatever weapon you're using into an armored Hydra that never has to get its charge back. And so that whole circle around it is all of a sudden under the crab's control when before it wouldn't have been. And so we can use this crab tank to get control of the left-hand side. And something that I noticed was I called crab tanking left, and we didn't really do much to follow up on that. I ended up getting the tri-stringer, and then we really just focused on this player who came in from the right. I guess they're trying to rush into the base or something, but if we had just sent one person in there to collapse on the splash, we would have gotten the splash too. And I think that one reason that this might be happening, that we're like all having to collapse on the right, is that we might not be taking positions that are letting us stop this player from getting forward. Like, right now, the junior is disrespecting Xeno and Abilify's zones. They're just, like, walking into a place where they should get splatted because they're running right by an enemy teammate. And so I think painting defensively is one thing that we need to be doing better to prevent this. If we just paint their feet, they can't do this. If we just like paint in front of them, they don't have paint they can swim in. They get stopped. They get stuck. But we let them kind of paint their feet enough to be able to get up over this jump. And that's why we've got this problem on the back right. So that's one thing to think about. But another thing to think about is, like, once we've got that part under control and we can actually stop this guy, because it was a 2v1 against that junior, even if we sent someone to the left, when someone pops a special, try to follow up on whatever that special does. So some specials, for instance, are displacement specials. You put a Booyah Bomb out there, that forces someone out of the way. Well, forcing someone out of the way is useful if you've got somebody else pushing at the same time. If you don't have that, there's not much that's going to happen except they're going to have to move. So when I say something like I'm popping crab left, or someone says I'm popping Zipcaster, look for where that's happening and see if there's anything you can do to make it more likely for those specials to get value. If the Zipcaster's going in, Zipcaster is very vulnerable. Go in and try and like distract the enemy team so that the Zipcaster can get into position a little more safely without being shot at on the way. If a crab tank goes out, look at the situation and be like, okay, they're zoning someone out of here. Is there a fight we can take on the other side while they're distracting? Is there a fight that we can take on left where we can flush someone out into the crab tank's line of fire and get a pick that way? That's what I think we probably could have done here. Look for like what you can do to support that special so that it will get more value. All right. So like the Geesh is starting to move up. I like how Zeno is maintaining zone control here, is like putting out shots, putting out paint to prevent the enemy team from moving forward, even if they can't move forward themselves. I kind of wanted Geesh to commit there, to like go in for a flank or something, because that would force the enemy team to peel back a little bit more. Let's so you end up here looking over the wall. You know where the charger is. Charger drops down. You have their stack. Now it's hard for you to like stay here because you're probably going to get shot at by the tri-stringer or the charger if you stay there. But what you can do is cut off an escape route. If you go over to the right-hand side, like right around the stack, it's not safe for a charger to push back to the bottom right here. They're stuck either moving to the right or moving forward, and those are their only two options. Well, moving forward puts them in our range. Moving right puts them right on top of all of the rest of their teammates and actually forces them away from the basket. So if you just kind of drop down into closed here and threaten to push their freezer, you can probably create a sort of situation where they're completely out of play. So we end up getting the trade there. And I didn't actually know that Zeno was even taking that fight. Now, I was down, but I don't think I heard too much about what was going on the left there. So I like that Zeno is in here trying to support the Zipcaster, but as soon as the VAC goes out, we don't really need to be challenging this. And there's the junior lagging like crazy, and they're gone. And we're in a 3v4. Oh, goodness. All right. So from there, we just get picked by the tri-stringers. Now need to be really careful. I'm able to eventually get the pick on this junior, and good job to Zeno staying alive throughout all of this, because I definitely should have been able to take them out a lot faster. But their mistake here is, well, mistake. They have two backliners, so it's not like those backliners can push up with this splash. But the splash gets out too far in front of them to a place where they can't be supported, and we're able to kind of cut the splash off. Geesh, I would have liked to see, like, notice that I'm in a fight and go and take that fight with me. Because I'm almost certain I was calling out that I was going on the splash there. We probably could have dropped down and taken them out a little bit earlier. And this is really good here because we're all taking the same fight. Jish is able to get 2 there because even though I just completely lose my end of it, I still had an opponent looking at me. And Jish was in position to take advantage of an opponent looking at me. And so that makes it really easy for them to trade back. And then they just, like, run into the junior who's doing something. The junior had some very confusing behavior even outside of the DCing. The junior is going to go and try and do their silly flanky thing again. But I see this coming, and I'm cutting them off. And notice how I'm painting around their feet. I'm not even necessarily trying to shoot them here. I painted behind them, and now they can't retreat. Now they can't go back to the right anymore. They're stuck in that patch of ink. And that's how you slow someone down. That's how you defend. That's how you stop them from moving forward. Once they're in my zone, I'm able to just keep them stuck in my zone long enough for me to get the pick because I'm painting their feet and like going for that sort of a play. So now I recognize that there's nobody guarding the zone in mid. Like, their zone is smushed up into the top side of the map. There's just nobody enforcing the middle. So I can flank this player and get in on the other side of them. And so I do, and we're able to take out the splash. And then I pop a grab myself because I kind of need to for safety, but also to start forcing the enemy team back. End up getting 1 here, and we put some pressure on the charger that Jish is able to follow up on. Great follow-up, by the way, Jish. That was really good, recognizing where the fight was and going and getting benefit out of it. So we recognize that there's... Man, they were really just trying to flank us, huh? So what I'm doing here, I called out that I am going to watch the front. The reason I'm watching the front here is that we have a 2v1 at our basket already. We already have an advantageous fight over there. And if I just turn around with you guys and everybody follows that splash around, the enemy team is able to walk back into mid and paint it up and do whatever they want for free. Whereas if I'm in mid, I slow them down significantly from getting in there, and they have to, like, think about where I am. I'm just like, hey, look at me. You better not go there. You better not go there. I got a burst bomb. And so now, instead of the tri-stringer, like, being on our stack already, they've only made it up to their block so far, and we're still in control of the game. It's that silly junior. Jish gets that. And from here, they need to make a power clam, and they're not doing that. And we win a fight anyway. Very nice. All right. So, that was a lot of information. Do you guys have questions?
Nothing that I could think of off the top of my head. That's a lot of information to process, so yeah.
So, something I've personally had trouble with is knowing which fights are the important ones to pick with a teammate and which ones are I should like hold back on and not advance. And during that match, I tried to be as much of like a backliner as I could, even though I was trying to play like assisting with fights. So, like with the ink vac, I tried to take that one and it didn't turn out so well. So, do you have any advice on which fights I should have picked and which ones I shouldn't have?
The simple answer to that is you take fights when you have an advantage in them and avoid fights when you don't have an advantage in them. So the fight that happened with the ink vac, you actually did have an advantage temporarily because the Zipcaster was in there aggressing with you. So that was a 2v1. The problem was that the Zipcaster recalled. And as soon as you didn't have that support from the teammate, now it was a 1v1. That particular situation, if you just create a little bit more space, you might be able to get away with it. Because you... The projectile of an ink vac is really dodgeable. It's pretty slow. So if you just don't put yourself so close that it's unreactable, you give yourself a little bit more distance, you can at least get away from that. And then you get yourself out of a position where you're in a 1v1. 1v1s are coin flips. You want to do better than coin flips. If you're a competitive player, you're trying to weight the coin. You're trying to rig the game. You're trying to make it so that your team is going to win this more often than not. It's like, you're not going to bet in poker that much if you have a bad hand. You're more likely to bet when you have a good hand. And if you don't have a good hand, if you don't have a hand you think you can win with, most of the time, you're just going to fold. You're literally not going to play the game. You're going to bide your time and wait for another option. So in that situation, seeing I don't have support anymore, seeing they've got a shot that's ready to go, let's just back up a little bit. Let's get regrouped with our team and look for a situation where we have a more advantageous fight. Now, one way to create those advantages is to get a good positional play. So, for example, you end up in a position where the opponent isn't looking at you and doesn't know you're there, and that enables you to hit them. Another kind of positional advantage would be you outrange the other player, and so you can just take free shots at them because they can't hit you back. Another one would be you have a special that you're using to engage, and that was what we were trying to get going with the Zipcaster. So there are a bunch of different reasons, but they all boil down to who's more likely to win. If it's you, do it.
Okay.
Good question. Any others?
I don't think so.
Not that I can think of right now.
All right. Always let me know, if you have other questions. I'm happy to elaborate further. If something comes up, you can always just send me a DM when you're reviewing the VOD or something like that. But that will bring us right about to time. We have one more lesson that's going to be coming up starting right about now, a couple minutes from now. So I will bid you guys good luck. Hope that you found it helpful. And again, let me know if you have any further questions as you think more about this stuff.
Yeah, nice meeting you, man.
Good to meet you.
Really good videos.
Thank you.
It was good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, all of these people who are saying hi to me. We've got Popito El Dasher 21. We've got Mike Boss and King Snow Mike. I am new. Welcome, new. I am Gem. Allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to. When I'm doing a lesson for someone in particular, I tend not to pay a ton of attention to questions from chat because a lot of the time I'm trying to, give them their money's worth, give them the time that they purchased in this case. These are Metafy lessons, so they paid for these. I'm trying to just make sure that I give them my full attention instead of, asking someone, answering, what do you build on the Forge Splattershot Pro when nobody on the team that I'm doing a lesson for is playing the Splattershot Pro? I'm trying to give them the most attention. But I'm always happy to answer questions when I see them, especially when they're going to be relevant to the team and when it's going to be helpful for them. So if I don't answer a question, feel free to ask it again. Like, I'm not bothered by repeated questions. Obviously, the rest of chat might be if you're just completely flooding chat with that. Maybe wait a couple minutes, see if I get to it. But I'm happy to answer questions if I miss them the first time. Thoughts on the Splattershot Nova? I want to love it, but man, does need a bomb. It's not a good main weapon. It's I don't think we're going to see a lot of competitive use of that thing with whatever kit it gets. It paints decently. It's got decent range, but the aim RNG is dreadful. The fact that it 5 shots is dreadful. It's like a slower time to splat than an arrow spray, and about as consistent with its aim RNG. I think it's got a really solid kit for it. Like, it lets it play the role of the scout, where it's kind of like looking for flanks. It lets it like paint pretty effectively to make sure that nobody's coming one way, and throw a point sensor in another direction to make sure they're not coming from the other way. It gives it information collection with the killer whale. Like, I think that the kit is pretty decent for a certain task. I just don't think that that task is valuable enough that you would want to dedicate an entire weapon to it. So, can I send a video for video VOD review through Metafy? If so, how, since I have to upload a video file? Yeah, so if it's going to be the recorded VOD review, the recorded replay review, then that needs to be through a video file. So you'd need like a capture card or a video that you take of your TV screen or something to upload to the internet. If you're trying to do it with a replay code instead, then you would just book a live VOD review and let me know in the notes that, like, the time is a placeholder and you just want me to, like, make comments on this at my leisure and send you the video of that. But I usually prefer, you know, when I can, to actually be able to talk to them and, you know, ask them questions and be like, hey, in this position, like, what decision were you acting on? Like, what was your thought process for making this choice that you made here? So that I can, like, understand the context and, like, where you're coming from on it. So, anyway. I need to go and make sure that I'm in contact with the next person. Okay, it's going to be Lunith. There's Lunith. Okay, and I'm pulling up their video. Hi, Lunith.
Hello.
I'm going to turn your volume down just a little bit so that it's in line with where everybody else's was. There we go. And then I need to share screen. So we'll go here, and then we'll go here. Cool. So that's shared. And now for my final trick. Oop. That's a little big. Let's fix that up on stream.
I did notice the previous review was not streamed.
The previous...
Earlier today.
Oh, right. Yeah, I wasn't ready to get the stream live at that point.
Fair enough. I
did
recorded it for myself on my own end, so...
Okay, good. I was worried that, like, you wanted a recording and didn't get one, but I'm glad that you were able to pull that off for yourself.
Yeah, unfortunately, it caught all the background noise from my mic.
Woo! Well, it would have been on my end, too, because Discord.
No,
anyway.
I'm using push to talk. I'm talking. My mic was hot for the entire recording.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
I need to figure out audio channels.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, so we already did a VOD review with Lunith earlier, and they decided that they would like to... They have a video file here
Timestamps.
with 2 different games, and they wanted to get feedback on both of them. We only had time in that hour to do the first one, so they bought another section for the second one, and so we're following up on that. So we've already talked a little bit, and that's why we're just kind of jumping right into it here. But here we go. So Lunith is playing the Splash, is a Splash main. Let's turn this down just a little bit, because that's coming over a little bit louder than the others were. Okay. So we've got, once again, 2 splashes, which is sick. Then we've got an arrow spray, which is a little bit less sick. Means you're going to have some paint, but there's not a lot of range in the front line. You do have a charger, though, and the charger's going to outrange all of their enemy players. So they have the more aggressive comp. They have a comp that's more capable of, like, running at you. So the advantage that you really want to leverage here is your charger player. If you can just like keep them busy in front of your charger should be able to help you out and get quite a number of picks from that. But if you dive in too deep to where the charger can't help you, you'll end up putting yourself at a numbers disadvantage against some weapons that are pretty darn good at fighting at close range. So we might want to be like a little bit on the conservative side on the rollout here, just keep ourselves safe. Let's see what we end up doing. All right. Yeah, they have a sploosh. They have a lot of weapons that can paint the shield. This is actually a situation where you probably want to give up the pop. Normally with, like, 3 shooters, especially, like, that do DPS as well as those do, plus a charger which has a bomb, you look at this comp, you're like, this is pretty good at popping. But they have a sploosh. The sploosh is, I believe, the highest DPS weapon in the game with continuous fire. Dapples might be slightly faster, but sploosh is definitely up there. And dapples have to roll to get it, so they run out of ink a little faster. So they get pop. That's fine. So this is exactly what I was talking about with, like, we don't want to dive too far in because our charger player is not going to be in a position to be able to help us with this. So statistically, even if you're just not paying attention to your teammates at all and diving in, statistically, you're much more likely to get help with this with a team of a bunch of short-range weapons. So even if you throw all caution to the wind and just go in every single time, the times that you're more likely to get help are when you have more aggressive teammates with you. The arrow spray doesn't want to dive. The charger doesn't want to dive. All of these other opponents can definitely dive on you. So you're more likely to end up in a numbers disadvantage if you go into a fight like that.
Okay.
Everybody goes into very separated fights. Fortunately, your teammate is able to shark the Rainmaker there and trade it. But at this point, your goal is just to stall this as much as you can without going down. Because if you go down here, that'll stagger your team, and that could cause problems, especially if they get through the checkpoint here. Giving up checkpoint, not the end of the world at this point in time. It's pretty unsafe to approach this situation because you don't have a lot of paint around you. There's a lot of enemy paint around them, and you're not quite sure where that other player is. There's a splatter shot out there somewhere with a Trizuka. If you put yourself in a position where you can't, like, hide behind cover or dodge or anything, they're liable to just pop that Trizuka and delete you immediately. And they end up not using the Zuka, but they end up, like, walking towards you. And because we're so focused on the Rainmaker, you can see here, they're able to just, like, get close enough to us to go forward and take this fight and win. So now it's kind of a 4v3. Our teammate, fortunately, is able to get a pick and narrow it down to a 3v3, but that's the sort of thing that can put us at a disadvantage. In this position, I probably would have jumped into the player that was further back. Well, I don't know if that would have been faster. This is probably faster. This is a really long map. So I think that gets you in just the slightest bit faster, and it's still just as safe as the direction you go. Okay, good job avoiding that. Once you get to here, remember that when you fire shots, when you throw bombs, things like that, that reveals your position. And that first burst bomb you throw, the Rainmaker is immediately attending to that. It might actually be shooting at your charger player.
It's probably aiming at the teammate.
Yeah. Same difference though. If you stand where your teammate is, you're gonna draw all of your teammates aggro. You know. Teammate backs up, and you're like, wait, there's someone shooting at me now. When did that happen? And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. They were firing the Rainmaker at me.
I poked the Hornet's nest, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I really love that burst bomb because that cuts off an escape route. So you get one here, and then you recognize that there is a player right here. If they push forward at your teammate, now their feet behind them are painted, and you've got their backs. So you get one... The other one's going to get away. I like that you're not shooting because you realize you don't have shots available. This is a little bit risky because of how little paint you have at your feet when you move in here. You are entirely on orange ink right now. They could just probably right side peek you around this corner and have an advantage on you. And your teammate didn't really push up with you. So yeah, they are actually able to take one back. It's important as a frontliner to recognize when your teammates aren't with you. And that can be hard because, where's your teammate? I don't know. But you've moved kind of back and forth from left to right here, and there aren't any shots going down from them. You'd think if they were with you, they'd be firing at this player. And it looks like they've just kind of turned around and gone someplace else. So at this point, you end up accidentally isolating yourself into a 1v1, and that's why this fight doesn't go the way you want it to. The crab tank is a bit conservative on their part. They're popping that in a location where they're not going to be able to see things right away. Good recognition. Good read on the ninja squid there. So, they drop into the ink, and then you see a little bit of movement going in this direction. And you follow that movement and whip around. So, really good awareness. You're very lucky that this booyah doesn't get launched in your direction, because that would have 100% splatted you. So how do we avoid that in the first place? When we get over here... Okay, the jump puts us in a pretty unsafe spot in the first place. But when we get over here, this might be a situation where we just want to jump out. Yeah, if that booyah bomb goes on you, then you get splatted. And now your teammate is in a 1v2. So I would probably have tried to just get away from that, but we escape. Good burst bomb. 1-for-1 trade. So we can start playing neutral here. Now you have crab, so it would be a good idea to try and find a high ground position where you can start using the crab. Maybe get out in front of it right here and pop the crab on top of the Rainmaker pedestal. That would be a great place to use it. Yeah, still not using the crab. If that fight doesn't go the way that you want it to, then you just kind of lose a crab tank and get nothing for it. But we talked previously about using your special when you have it. It is definitely something that takes some trained awareness. You want to be listening for that ding that you get when it charges to use it. You use it there, and you get value out of it. You're actually almost at a point where you probably could have gotten a second crab tank out by this point in time. If you had used the first one earlier and then used the second one now, that would kind of be the idea there. Oh, your teammate is going so close to the enemy team. Yep, that was way too aggressive on their part. They went in alone. So now we're at a disadvantage. There's a crab tank out. A little bit risky to expose yourself from there since you weren't in position to use your main weapon. It ends up working out, but what I'm thinking to try and do if I want to go after the Rainmaker here is find a way that I can sneak in and use my main weapon. Because remember that a booyah bomb is a smoke screen. A booyah bomb doesn't just prevent you from seeing them, it prevents them from seeing you. So if you sneak right up to the edge of the booyah bomb and then just make the short sprint to behind this pedestal here to take shots at the Rainmaker, they're basically isolated with you. And that would be a way to get this trade without having to resort to your long-range option that's a little bit trickier to aim if you need to get the pick with it, because you only get the 2 shots before you're out of ink. Okay, so we're even right now. They're respawning a little bit quicker, but they also have Rainmaker. And we want to get a little bit further forward quicker, just so that we're in position to defend as soon as possible, since they are moving it. There's going to be paint in front of you that you're going to be able to get for special. You've got this whole area over here if you want to throw a burst bomb there. But more importantly, if there are enemy players, they're putting down orange ink. And orange ink is special charge to you. So you've already got your special charge, and you're still pretty far behind the action at this point. So we can probably have just moved forward, gotten forward faster, been an impact on the Rainmaker fight faster, and still gotten the special at about the same speed. Nice. And now we want to get to some high ground so we can crab. Oh, that would have been a great place to crab. If you crab there, the Rainmaker is probably safe pushing up to where they did. Maybe... I think a better place to crab is probably if you're able to jump it across to the right side, because then there's no way that they get your back easily. So that could be another option. But like we needed something to force them backwards, because otherwise they can just contest the Rainmaker and it's hard to stop them. So now we pop the crab, but at this point we're down a player and we're getting flanked. The Booyah Bomb gets thrown at us. We kind of just... let them have the space they needed to take the fight that they wanted. Ooh.
I'm surprised how fast they noticed me.
Yeah, I am too. I actually wasn't expecting them to see it, to be honest.
Oh, I think my head peeked above the ledge for like a second.
Yeah, I mean, it was, there are a couple of things they could have seen. They could have seen this splotch of ink. They could have seen the jump. You also let go of ZL here. So there were a couple of things. But, I just wasn't expecting them to have that kind of awareness. Your teammate is alone, so this is a little risky. And now you're alone, and it's important to recognize that and give up the space that you need to stay alive. Good job sharking. I like this. I like this. Great burst bombs. You're so close to getting this splat. Oh my goodness. Teammates follow up. Okay. Whew. Oh man. That's so unfortunate. So what happens to your teammates here? So I guess the Rainmaker gets the charger. Because you're like flanking right now. The only thing in the way of anybody in front is the Rainmaker itself. Like, you've got a player here and a player here on the enemy team. So, like, they should be able to just go in and get this guy. I guess there was someone a little bit further ahead, too. So maybe that was what got the charger. So I think you guys just got flanked. It is important here to kind of clear the area around. Like, if you're gonna push around a blind corner, you need to have that blind corner painted, because at this point they've been able to paint up pretty far. And look at how much orange ink there is over here. There could be someone sharking here. And since you already have one person aiming around the right side of the pedestal, it's probably more beneficial for you to take the left side of the pedestal and maybe just take this corner really wide and paint the back side of this. That is something that I would have checked, because that's the kind of shark that will lead to them taking lead, unfortunately. They probably knock out for this. Nope, not quite. We've got one more chance. It's not a great chance, but it is a chance. 3 down. So that's the start. And now it's protect the president. Now we gotta... Oh, no. The Rainmaker really shouldn't have pushed up that far in front when they could see in front of them the splatter shot. Oh, man. That's unfortunate. That'll slow down your momentum a lot. So now we need to get some paint control down here. We need to make sure that there's no one sharking underneath this ledge. So for all we know that there was someone who was jumping into that we couldn't see. The crab here, it's safe, but I don't think it's going to get very much, because there were still some players that are respawning. So they could be like anywhere in this orange. You kind of want to pop this when you've got a little bit more information, so you know where to aim it at.
Right.
And the Rainmaker just kind of got way too far in front.
What did he even die to?
With the Rainmaker?
Oh, it's a splash right behind the cover in mid.
Yeah. Yeah, the Rainmaker goes way too far forward here. Like, they should be behind you. They should not be... First of all, they shouldn't be to the side of you. They should be, like, using you as a meat shield, basically. Like, putting you in between them and the attacking players. But second of all, like, they're over to the side, so even if they do get engaged on, neither you nor your charger player can do anything to help them. And, like, that's not entirely on you. Like, you're pushing up, trying to create space for it as you go over here, and they're not taking advantage of that at all. So, not a huge fan of their positioning, but the big issue is just, like, that they were able to get this push back here in the first place. So when... This fight, like, I don't blame you for, because this is, like, so close. If that one shot had hit the Rainmaker instead of the other player near them...
The burst bomb hits the railing behind the Rainmaker, and it doesn't actually hit the Rainmaker, even with the 25 splash.
Yeah. Like, you get 3 shots there, you're so close. So it's like, there were so many ways that could have gone right, and it's just tiny execution things. Don't hold yourself too accountable for that. Your teammate trades it back anyway. It's right here that the mistake happens, which is that teammates stagger in. Why is the aerospray still there? They are not going to do anything by themselves in a 1v3.
They're not. That aerospray was behind an enemy player, and with that advantage, lost the 1v1.
That's an aerospray for you. It's not even that it was like... It was a bad decision, don't get me wrong. But like,
I'm still looking at the map, you can see the enemy player turn to look at the aerospray and just kill them. Yeah.
Right there. Like, it's an aerospray. It should not be taking that fight because the weapon loses that fight every time. Aerospray, like, if you're going to try and engage on someone, you need to be, like, breathing down their necks so that your shots don't miss. Or that they can't outrange you and kite you. Because otherwise, that's all that's going to happen. And so now, your team is staggered. And your charger even hits a shot right there, which is sick. But we just...
Didn't clear
in this
the area
position,
pedestal.
we've just got to, like, swing around to the left side and paint this side of the Rainmaker pedestal. Charger's got this line covered. This line is the part that wasn't covered. And so that's what's able to get them in. So, like I said, not completely your fault at all. There was something you could have done to prevent it, though, and so that's what I would focus on for you. Yeah, you can't control your aerospray staggering in, but you can control whether you check a blind corner. So.
Yeah.
All right. Where does that put us? Oh, wow. That's the whole match, and that took us to 425. So there are a number of things we could do. We could play some matches together. I could play some Splash and like talk through my thought process and kind of start to give you some ideas there. But what is it you would like to do?
I'd be down to just play matches together.
Sounds good. All right. So let's get that set up here. I will need to first delete a friend, and then I'll send you my friend code so you can friend request. And maybe like we can play a match and then VOD review it afterwards if we want to.
Okay.
That would give us some time. And I'm sorry, Chicken Man. Farewell. Mr. President, get down. Oh, he just walked into 3 people and died. Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Rip Chicken Man. And Tick.
Current rotation is Tower, Museum, and Sturgeon.
And there we go. Is Bird. Hello, Bird.
He's Bird.
We did replace Chicken Man with another bird, so there's at least that. Okay, and for our
I
next
have a room
trick...
open.
Okay, that works. Is it password?
No.
We should probably password it.
Okay.
I'll make one with a password, and also I'll put a frog on screen.
All the joys of streaming.
Yeah. You get people trying to join your lobbies during tournament sets, during VOD reviews, or, you know, all sorts of things.
Look, Ma, I'm on the YouTube.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that frog. That frog makes me happy. Okay. Double splash, that's a thing.
Are we running double splash tower?
Yeah, it's totally a thing.
Alright.
Top teams are running double splash.
I think I saw triple splash at one point.
Would not be surprised. Crab is kind of silly at the moment. Aim back here. Oh, did you also want to talk about aim drills? Because I have a video on those that it will explain everything that I would tell you about them, so I could just
I feel like I
drop
could
that
just
for
look
you if
those
you
up.
like. Yeah. All right, here we go. A lot of people trying the new weapons, as is predictable.
Oh shoot, when was the last time I played Tower in Splatoon 3? What? Oh, this is...
Got the brush. It's lagging like crazy.
This Nova shot me 12 times and no ink came out. Same with an Octave. Oh, okay. This is not... this is not happening.
Yeah, that was, there was an attempt. There was an attempt.
I see a player drop down the flank route and I see them with no ink and I'm like, huh? Personally, I blame the big swig.
It was actually the Octobrush on their team that DC'd.
I saw. Two of them DC'd.
Interesting.
And you.
Yeah, it's the Big Swig's fault, though.
Yeah. You sabotaged. Same pass?
Yep. As Nintended.
Yeah.
Nintendo, what Nintendo?
I think I said that was a Splash 1 trick, but for a while there's Splatoon 2. I also played Chargers.
Okay. That's good perspective to get. Like, I think it's good, even if you don't play the weapon, to, like, if it's very, very different from yours, to figure out how they see the game. So that you understand their thought process a little better.
The way they see the game is 3 players rushing them the instant their laser appears.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is a solid comp. We can work with this.
Yeah, with it. That's double V Junior.
So I'm painting up a little bit on my way out to get Crab.
Not so.
Okay, let's start moving in. I'm going to Crab on left.
Okay.
That was a pretty good look. They're rotating over to the right. I'm keeping an eye out for flanks. Got one. The push might not be able to go so much longer. We'll see.
They're respawning.
Got one. Cool. I knew my teammate was there, so I took the risk of helping on the right instead of defending myself. Paid off.
Down.
I'm down to the machine in front. They played that well.
I'm gonna crab. Okay.
I'm gonna jump in. This is probably not a good idea, but
It should be fine. Alright, I'm down. Yeah, push is over. Yeah.
got a trade back. But
good
I definitely
push.
shouldn't have stayed in there. Nice. They're 2 down. I'm gonna move in on the left. Ooh, hello. Well, that was not a smart plan. We're getting flanked by the machine on
they're
left.
Yep.
Wow, 3 down. Nice.
Nice. One in mid on right. They're
Cool.
down.
Delayed wipe.
I'm gonna start this pushing. Where's the forge? Oh,
I'm getting paint out in front of us. Is someone...
machine
oh,
down
top.
on left. No one's on top. This one's on top now, actually.
Why? I thought they were on the top left. That's my bad.
I am crab on the tower.
That's 2 down.
That's it.
That's game. They shoved you, but they couldn't get you off the tower in time.
Indeed not. Alright. I could definitely look at some... There's some moments in that match where I should not have gotten the 6 kill streak at the start of that.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot believe I lived for as long as I did. I took multiple 2v1s there.
Do you want to look at that one, or do you want to keep playing?
Let's do one more. Give us more material to work with. That one was kind of short.
Sounds good.
A habit I've had to break for myself is constantly jumping.
Yes, that's very important to break.
Because
You
it's great
die to
for
a lot of
evasive
bombs that way.
maneuvers. Great for evasive maneuvers, but when I'm just trying to move, it's better to just swim.
It's not even that great for evasive maneuvers, because what can happen is someone just puts a bomb at your feet, and jumping
True.
makes you commit to that for too long to escape the bomb explosion.
Hmm.
You end up dying to a lot of random bombs from jumping too much. So, it's a good habit to break, even for that reason.
Yeah. Oh, look. We got a backline, a mid, and 2 front. And they've got 2 zimmy. 2
2 carbons, 2 zooms.
Alright. Let's do 3 at back. So this will be interesting.
So the carbons are going to want to shark a lot.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get
Oh, that's-
outranged by the zimmies.
Zimmies are bubbled on tower. I have no one. Let's do this. I
I'm
got
just trying to poke with burst bombs until I get information. I'm going to try and stall the tower out. with,
3 of them are
crab
with
here.
the tower. One of them dropped down in front of it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't able to shred the bubble before my crab ran out.
Yep. There's a carbon sharking under the ledge near the tower. Now they're with the tower. They're in front of it.
I'm just trying to keep my distance and wait until we have numbers
One
back.
of them... Yeah.
I'm just going to keep them back. I'm not going to fight this. I don't need to push them. They need to push me, if anything. Because I have range on the tower from here.
Whoop. Alright, one down. There's a Zimmy on the tower. Carbon on the platform next to it.
Yep. Oh, well, someone got me from tower.
Zimmy down. I'm gonna send this back. Another
Nice.
Zimmy down. I'm dead.
That was a really important pick. And we're going to be able to stop the tower with Booyah here. Nice, got
Alright,
2
that
with
card went
that.
down.
Just one
I think
Zimmy. Where's the Zimmy?
Yeah. Both Zimmies went down during that. I think it was a carbon near us.
Okay.
Oh, nope. There he is. They're in our walls. Zimmy in our walls. But they're way behind the tower. I think it's a Zimmy and a carbon. Yeah, Zimmy and a carbon are in our base. But that's not what the
2
tower
dropping
is.
on me. Yeah. I probably should have just grabbed.
Okay.
Well, we got to reset all the way to mid, so we can take
Yeah.
our time here. Got 3 minutes. No rush. Ooh, okay, that was close.
Oh. That. Okay. 3 down.
Another one, and last one dropped off.
Carbons.
They're weak, got him.
Alright. I'm pushing. Probably have the forge on here, but. They're about to attack me.
Ha! Got the carbon.
Oh. They bubbled in front of the tower. There's a carbon and a Zimmy. And I back out. Alright, carbon killed me. Carbon's next to the tower.
Yeah. They shredded my crab instantly, and so I just got stuck in there.
Back. Carbon's up. Carbon's down. Zimmy is on the tower.
I'm gonna flank from the right. Let's see if we can get a pinch.
Okay. I got a double burst on.
Got 2.
Oh.
One
the
behind
two
me.
down.
Didn't
One
trade.
respawning.
Here comes
Double
the
on
top
the tower.
left.
There's a Zimmy on the tower. He's not dead. He's 1.
Pushing in right. Okay, nice, that's 2 down.
Oh, 2 down.
2 for 1. There's another one dropped below. Watch out for
Carbon
carbon.
down.
On left of tower.
Yeah.
Nice.
Down.
I think one jumped in
I look
to
at
mid.
forward.
Yeah, there's 2 in mid, 2 in mid, 2 in mid. I hit them a couple times, but they got me.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. We'll need to play a little bit safe just to get me back in.
I
like the
crab
use of the
for what it's
special.
worth.
Yeah, that's good to use when you get an opportunity to get value out of it.
Okay, we got back on the tower.
It immediately got filled up before I could even move.
Yeah. We got 1 person in mid. That's their forge. They're dead. Nope, they lie. They live. Alright, Zeus pushing forward. Alright, then carbon down. One of them sitting on the tower.
Got one
He's
Zimmy.
off the tower.
Carbon behind tower.
Carbon, I see it. Carbon down.
Nice. Another one dropped.
Zimmy next to
Nice.
tower.
Last one
Tower,
dropped
carbon
right.
left.
Nice. I'm trying to get up in front and get a crab on their plat.
Zimmy looking at me from creating their base. Carbon next to you, carbon behind.
Yep.
Down. Zimmy.
Woo! Got him.
Uh,
Oh. Beautiful. We might actually get this. Just a carbon. Where'd they go?
behind. And that's it.
Whew. Nice.
Ooh. That was good. It's a lot more fun
That's,
playing the game with someone in call.
That block that you have to get up over the top to get on their plat.
Yeah.
It's really, really powerful, I've found, in tower control there. With, for example, a 52 gal to put a wall up as soon as you get over that ledge. Because then you can put the wall to cover the left side and fire to cover the right side, or vice versa. And it was a very similar play that I made by immediately popping Crab Tank when I got up over the top of it. I hit continue, by the way. I don't remember. Okay, you
Oh,
left.
I hit stop.
Gotcha. I'll leave it. it's a really powerful play to do something defensive as soon as you pop up over the top there. So a big bubbler, or I guess a big bubbler would probably get destroyed by the towers it comes across, but throw a wall out, put a crab out or something like that, because that just completely holds them away from the tower checkpoint once you get up there.
Okay.
All right. Let's have a look. And I don't think I'm screen sharing anymore, so I will do that real quick.
Yep.
Here we go. I want to learn carbon, but no brain space. You don't need brain for
Carbon needs
carbon.
no-
You just must
Carbon
whack.
has no brain space. All
No,
of
that's
Carbon's
not
brain
true.
space is where's shark.
Yeah.
Carbon is where do I shark? Your screen share's not going through. There we go.
There it is. You good?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll look at this from the overhead view, because this is a view that we don't tend to be able to get. So, big thing here, minis paint a lot, and then the carbon is going to be able to use that paint to shark, so they're always going to be sharks, and we've always got to be painting defensively to know where they are, so that we don't get snuck up on, because as soon as we get snuck up on, we lose. The cheesecake immediately just gets collapsed on by both carbons, and so now we're at a disadvantage before we're really able to do too much. The most we're going to be able to do here is like crab tank to stall. So you pop crab. Unfortunate. They get you with the Zuka there. So I pop crab and try to do the same thing.
You don't die for it, but you don't kill anyone.
Yeah. They end up getting a big bubbler around the tower there. But we collapse on one on the left. Pushing around the left side there, you want to paint really defensively if you're going to take that play, because people are going to be sharking that and your left side peeking, and there are a lot of disadvantages as soon as you expose yourself. So you want to like paint up really carefully to make sure nobody's around the corner before you take the corner. And Cheesecake made the same mistake. So I go up, and I'm trying to keep the carbon from like getting in behind us, mostly. There's not a lot that I'm going to do from this position against, you know, a mini to be able to stop the tower, because I just don't have the range over it. The most I can do is throw a burst bomb, but I still need to have cover so that after I throw the burst bomb, I'm not on an open sight line with it. Being up top here lets me do that, and also I'm able to shoot at the tower and throw burst bombs at the tower from this position while keeping the carbon out. So I'm effectively kind of keeping one player out of play while also stopping the tower.
Okay.
And I just have to dodge a few burst bombs here. And they're guessing blindly where they need to throw these burst bombs. So I force them out. Now, unfortunately, at this point, I get splatted not by the roller. It looked like it was the roller, but it was actually a mini from below there. So I get overrun at that position, but you're able to get two, and that saves the game, honestly. Like, that double needed to happen.
Yeah, and then that
Booyah Bomb comes out. We get the one there. Our teammates should be able to flush this mini out. No, they don't. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, at that point the mini stays right there, and the carbon jumps to them.
Well, that's
Which-
annoying.
Yeah.
But we do get mid control, so it's going to take Corey and Cammy here on the bottom a long time to engage on us when we go for this. So I'm able to just shark Corey here and force them into Cheesecake. And now I get dropped on, and I should have crab tanked right here. No reason for me not to crab tank.
At the very least, that play made tower go all the way back to mid.
Right. Like, we at least progressed the objective while that was happening. They're still going to get it to about the first checkpoint area just by having numbers right now, but it's better than it was. I like that you're taking cover and not trying to engage too hard on this. We just get a trade there, and then we're able to push all the way in, and it's just this carbon. we're able to hunt that down. Alright, so we're getting back out into mid. And, like, notice where the enemy team has to position because we have so much paint. Like, the carbon roller doesn't have a way to get in because there's just not that much to work with.
No opportunity to shark because they don't have control over enough ground.
Mm-hmm. And I just run over the carbon roller there. That was funny. I was in crab tank ball.
I kept getting on and off the tower at this point because they kept shooting.
Yeah, so it's good to stall the tower here, but if there's nobody in front of it, we can't really safely push it forward. We need, like, some kind of special to get popped or something so that we can actually clear those players out or to get a numbers advantage. So the carbon flanks us here, unfortunately. And at this point, I try to jump out and can't make it out.
Yeah.
So that was a good flank from the carbon. That was something I probably should have spotted since I was over there on the left. Alright, good job helping trade. You know, it was the teammate that went down, so there's not much you can do about their positioning, but you can at least make sure that the opponent doesn't go unpunished for it.
Right.
This is a scary place for you to be, yeah. There was a lot of people looking at you, there's a lot of paint behind you, and your teammates are a little separated from you. But I am able to get in and get a flank off that gets 2. Unfortunately, I can't get the 3rd, and so we're still at a numbers disadvantage. They actually do get an extra point there. That almost ended up mattering.
Yeah.
It's a good collapse. We go around the spinner from opposite sides, so that pinches them. So I'm up trying to create space in front of the tower right now, because the tower can't safely move forward until we've cleared the space that's around the front of it. So I'm trying to get out there and do that.
Right.
I get a little bit too close to the carbon, though. The Booyah Bomb buys a little bit of time for me to get back in, so that was really well used, even though it didn't end up actually splatting anyone or forcing any fights. It made it so that I was able to get there in time. We probably played that a little bit too aggressively, the both of us.
Yeah.
Because we still have the carbon over on the far right-hand side. Yeah. Oh, you know what it was? It was that, that was when the Big Swig popped Inkvac, and I popped Crab.
Right.
But it just got shredded immediately. We were in a little bit too deep. So Cheesecake probably should just jump out at this point. Well, actually, nah. They did fine. Because they stall the enemy team a little bit longer by doing all of that, and they allow us to follow up and get a trade back. So now I'm sharking. And I get a pick around the side. Because I knew I had an advantage over the minis if they had to charge, or if they were looking someplace else. So I just waited around that side to be able to get one of them. And now it's just one mini, 7 seconds left. Just need to not, like, all die to one carbon roller and we're fine. So Crab comes up here, and this is going to give us some space to move up. Because even though, like, it looks like what I've done so far is absolutely nothing, but the rest of our team was safe moving around to the block to get up onto plat, because if an opponent got onto the side of plat where they could attack that, they were in range of my crab. So they didn't approach my crab. And we're able to move the entire team much further on the objective line because of it. It helps then that I also bump the carbon down and get the second one just in the nick of time with like 3 shots and an explo shot. So now that's 2 of them down, and now I sprint up to get up onto the plat, because we need to keep clearing this space out from in front of it. There's someone on the top right, and the tower can deal with that. But as long as I can keep the tower from getting flanked from a different angle, they're going to be able to deal with that. And so I'm forcing all 3 of these players to be further away from the tower than they can attack it from. The Booyah is perfectly timed. The Carbon should have been able to get on tower, actually. That should have probably ended the game. But I'm able to camp the jump. Mediocolor is able to get the last one, and we hold it together. So.
Yeah. When we got onto their plat at the end there, I had Crab. I was considering asking you to switch my place on tower so I could Crab in front of us.
Gotcha.
But,
yeah, that would.
I didn't see a good opportunity to do it because they weren't with the rotating stage element. I wasn't really in a good position to cover enough ground to really force them back.
Yeah, that is a good thought to be having, and like it's a good call to make when you're on comms with someone. That situation, it just ended up working out, but you could definitely see that I was forced back once I got into a position where there were 3 in front of me. So at that point, you know, if we're going to hold for longer, we're going to need more firepower, and the crab would have been the way to do it.
Yeah. We had another match we did. We don't have much time, though.
Yeah, we only have about 5 more minutes. So if we want to play another one just to finish things out, we could. It's definitely not enough time to go through, like, a whole match, I don't think, even a short one.
Yeah.
So would you like to play more, or what do you want to do?
Sure, let's run another one.
All right.
Throw.
Here is Darwin.
Dog.
All right. Same pass.
Okay.
That is Soliart's dog, Darwin. Soliart, one of our mods. He is got his own Instagram page, Our Friend Darwin. Hi there, kitty. I'd happily take Moray back.
I don't know about that one.
It's fine on Clam Blitz for the most part, a little bit, not entirely.
I mean, you want to deal with Moray Rain?
It's not the worst map mode, or the worst map in the entire series. I'll give it that. Someone says, I think you're all Charger players.
We have triple crab, let's go.
We're fighting against E. coli. We are the white blood cells.
Let's do it. They also have effectively triple backline.
I am Mark,
No, we're pushing
and
left.
watched hard on left. I am scared.
As a
I should add that
is-
little jump to my video.
E-liter scope. They're
Crabbing on
watching
left.
From left.
Nice, we got one. Start pushing up on the right.
Oh, I don't know why that E-liter dropped down. I'm gonna push in the middle. Grab.
Ooh, I didn't think anything was gonna hit me there.
E-liter on left.
We are two
I think there's-
down.
Someone up
Yeah,
top.
I'd back
yeah.
up out of that.
Yeah. Not gonna do it. Oh, yeah, well, on the right.
Ah, E-leader got me, they knew.
E-liter in mid. I marked.
We've got a Splash who's like really far in there. Okay, they jumped out, good. Just be careful, because you're alone up there.
Yep.
I can't get to you in time.
Yeah, I held out for a bit. Let's check lead, let's check back. Killer Whale on left.
Yeah. Okay, we made it.
Leader pushing in right. Or not leader, 2. Oh. Nova on right. They're in mid.
Oh, shoot, they got me. Nova coming right zone.
Yep. Billy Bomb on
Jumped in.
right.
Ooh, okay, that's a lot of things. Just trying to paint up and get some control.
New leaders watching mid.
I'm being watched on the left by the junior.
I
have crab.
I'm
I'm gonna crab up here.
The slash is gonna flank leader. I'm just. They tried.
Crab, or your
right.
leader is down.
Leader's down. I'm down. On right. Forge on right.
Man, I even hit a
Alright, well,
burst
that was
bomb
a bad
on
jump.
them.
What the? Huh.
Yeah, the fight wasn't decided, so I'd say wait until someone goes down there, one way or the other, to make the decision.
Yeah. They're pushing. Someone's trying to get in our base on the right. On March. Unfortunate. Ooh. Good. Nova on right.
I was pinched pretty hard there.
This is gonna be close, if anything. Dang it. Oh well.
Yeah. Not quite.
Oh well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the sessions.
Yeah.
Hope you got everything you wanted to out of it. Let me know if you ever have any questions. I'm always happy to answer. But we've had, a good 2 hours, so I imagine you've probably thought of as much as you can to ask for the time being.
Pretty much. And I have the recording of the first session.
All right. So, I'm gonna really quickly double check. Stop streaming there. I'm gonna check and make sure that, okay, I do actually have something that I'm gonna need to do fairly soon here. So I'm probably gonna call it for the stream. So thank you everybody for watching. Where in the world is the thing? We're gonna go and raid. We've got some options here. Let's go and raid Cat and Bob Dude. Cat and Bob Dude is a member of Kingmaker, which is a competitive team known for running many brushes all at the same time. So it's a fun team to keep track of. For those of you who are a little less familiar with me, maybe this is the first stream you've seen, I do make content full time. So I have a whole bunch of different links. I've got a YouTube channel, of course, which is where most of you guys probably found me from. But there's also a TikTok, there's a Twitter account, there is a Discord server that you can join. All of those things can be found at this link. You can also find my Patreon here. If you support me on Patreon, you gain the right to nominate and eventually decide what weapons are chosen for Silly Comp Sundays, which is a segment we'll be doing tomorrow where we play very silly weapon compositions that are suggested for us by our viewers. And I also have a Metafy account, which is how these fine people have gotten their lessons from today. So if you want a lesson like this, that is a place where you can find that. I do also do VOD reviews on Tuesdays for free. Those are a little bit backed up further. The wait is a little bit longer, but those are free as opposed to Metafy, which is paid. And that's part of how I support myself as well. So appreciate all of the support from whatever channel, wherever it comes from. Thank you everybody for watching, and let's go say hi to Captain Bob Dude.
Have a good night, y'all.
Have a good night. School's out is our raid message. School's out. So let's get that typed out and ready to go. And if you are on YouTube, feel free to hop over into Twitch, but you're going to have to do it quickly because we are leaving right now. Have a good one, everybody.